Welcome back to the BrewSpytheMagicGuy show. So we're going to do a quick one tonight. We're not changing a thing. The deck is budget on purpose. This is more or less what I plan to have after visiting 2 different hobby stores tomorrow to prepare for this week's F&M Modern with some friends of mine at my local hobby shop. So yes, 3 Jace, that's on purpose. The Piers and the pieces instead of owning the 4th Goryos, that's on purpose. Only 2 Inames. I was only able to find 2 Inames. So all of these possibly suboptimal choices are because I'm either borrowing cards or this is all that I could find at all the local shops around here. So yes, there are going to be some suboptimal choices. There are some choices I could still make before tomorrow's F&M, like I could add another Obsidat. I do have access to a 3rd and 4th Obsidat. But I want to go with what cards I was able to scrounge up. I even did find a hobby store that has a Shizo. So without further ado, nope, we're not making any changes because this is what I'm playing tomorrow. So, homie, Spartan, I'd love to see what you got. Ooh, Waste Dot. That sounds sweet. Yeah, Arthur, I definitely would love... I wonder if maybe we should, like, do a Discord channel just for spoilers, because I love talking spoilers with you guys, because there's always something spicy to brew. You just have to find it. We're not going to stream too long tonight. I know that I say that all the time, and then I get sucked in, and we play, you know, like, an extra 3 hours. Tonight is going to be different. Even if we're popping, like if we have like 1 million people here, like I'm still going to host to somebody else and get some rest because I do have Magic tomorrow. And among other things I got to do, so let's see. Let's do a competitive. What's up, Booted Ahead? How's it hanging? So if you guys didn't know, a stream friend of mine, another streamer, actually played our Goryo Souls deck, but basically the prototype version. Oh, nice, we have points. And he didn't do too well with it. It's not his fault. The deck really wasn't finished. We were still figuring it out. So basically my buddy sat down with cards that we knew we have access to, cards that I can get from local gaming shops. And this is the version that we came up with. So this is a budgified version / what I'm able to borrow for tomorrow of Goryo's Souls. And yes, that is actually peer through depths and pieces of the puzzle to fill out the deck. You called it Greece's Wasted Dreams. That sounds sweet. You should, if you have a link to it, you should post it in chat. I'm sure somebody would play that. Yep, and 2 Iname is on purpose. I researched, there's another hobby store that's not too far away for me to drive to that has 2 copies of Iname. So although I'd rather play 3 or 4 copies in this deck, I think this is fine. We'll keep it. It's got some disruption. Disruption is always good and modern, almost always. All right, Lily, Snap, and Seize. I don't care about Snap, but I don't care about Seize. I like just taking the Lily, because we could use the Thoughtseize on ourselves. Let's take the Lily. I don't really care about anything else in his hand. Our mana base is Esper, so spreading Seize is not a big deal. Brutality's interesting. There's nothing to grab from our opponent, though. But Brutality is a better way for us to pitch the Obsidat, so this actually lets us just Thoughtseize our opponent here. So let's do that. I mean, I kind of just like taking the Snapcaster Mage. TBH. So we're going to take the Snapcaster Mage, we're going to Serum Visions. There's a Pier, there's a Name. Okay, cool. So we'll take the Pier, so we're going to go bottom top, kick it back. That's fine. Yeah, it doesn't change anything for us, actually. I probably just want to go land, go, end step, peer through depths, right? Yeah. Inquisition. So it sucks here, if I peer, we're just going to lose whatever we get to the Inquisition. Yeah, it's not like I have like Lingering Souls in this list to go hit with Pier and then doesn't matter what he takes. Actually, it might be worse for us if he took the Brutality considering what I have going on, so we'll leave that decision up to the opponent. Like, cuz I need to pitch at least the Iname. Obsidat might just get hard cast. I mean, our opponent's playing blue-black control, so Obsidat's really good. They have fatal pushes. He doesn't die to push. They have damnations and lilies. He doesn't die to either of those, so he's pretty resilient. Yeah, so he takes the peer through depths, which I think is reasonable. We drew a Bloodghast. Okay, I wish I could pitch all of these things. I'm not able to pitch all of these things. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do 2 modes. And we're going to pitch the Iname and the Bloodghast. Oops, I meant to pitch the Bloodghast. Yeah, no, we would have needed 3 modes for that. My bad, stream. Meant to click the Bloodghast first if I'm going to make that misplay. That hurts. That's going to be a long time where we're not attacking with the Bloodghast. So he's got nothing. That is a long time where I'm not attacking with blood. Like, we could have gotten the Bloodghast into play this turn, actually. So that hurts. The misclick is real. Snap acquisition. Sure. So opponent's going to discard the Bloodghast for us, which is excellent. We are very happy. Actually, that worked out really well for us because now, I mean, I know it was a misplay, but like we wanted the Iname in the graveyard. Now I just fetch the, we'll fetch and get the Bloodghast. I need double black, double white for this Obsidat in my hand, so why don't we go for the Godless Shrine? I know the opponent might have more, you know. So go ahead and grab that bad boy. I think his hand was empty last we looked, right? Yeah, it was just the Snapcaster Mage. He kind of ran out of gas. I don't think I'm supposed to Inquisition. He probably would have made any other play he had access to. He just wants to block. It's fine. Tarpit attack. Okay. Sure. Alright, there's Goryo's Vengeance, so we can do our Wombo. We can hand check him just to make sure. I mean, they sometimes run yeah, they sometimes do run Spell Pierce. Okay, no, just a bunch of lands over there. Alright, well, while he's doing nothing, I'm gonna go do my thing. Thank you very much. We do need to draw a land, though. Yes, I would like to get all the spirits out of my deck into the graveyard, where they will be more useful. I don't know if blue-black control can come back from us just every land drop I draw as a Bloodghast. Or 2, or 3. No more to search. Hit you for 4. And now we've got an Obsidat where we actually want it. Yeah, so we're going to put him down to 13 here. Just not low enough for hasty Bloodghast yet, but that's fine. Most any draw in our deck is now live. That's kind of the cool thing about this jank. Yeah, that's kind of the cool thing about this jank, guys, that I'm playing. Alright, so we actually want the Delta. I actually could Serum into the Delta is a play. Like, we could Serum into this Delta and then play the Delta to get back the Bloodghasts. I don't think that's too terribly greedy, unless the opponent wants to spend a counterspell on my Visions. Then we're very sad that I made that decision. Which is technically possible. So maybe we'll do the slower line of just making sure that we hit that land next turn. We drew a Jace, just reasonable. What's nice is it's a fetch land, so not only do I get to deploy Jace next, this is probably the better line, honestly. Hope he's just like, yeah, it's fine. Well, him fielding us also brings back the Bloodghast. I mean, if he wants to try to field my white source, that's fine. No? Okay. So always yes. This is kind of pretty when I do this. I was practicing this earlier. You do the always yes, and then you do this, and they all come out. Watch. Isn't that elegant? All right. I'm easily excited by that fact. Yeah, we'll jam Jace. And kick it back. I mean, even if he has Damnation, like I can just Delta fetch. Slows us down because he's at 13, but this is fine. Don't know if I want to show him that we have the basic planes. I guess I'm still supposed to get it though. Tarpit, okay. I mean, this could be Tarpit. Yeah, wow, Tarpit plus Damnation. Next level, he should have made you fetch. Because you'd think... Oh, I would think he has Damnation. I mean, I could just hardcast Obsidat here. Alright, let's go to combat. Let's see what he does. Oh, you know what I could have done, actually, stream? Yeah, he's probably going to Cryptic Tap me. I'd be very surprised if this wasn't a Cryptic Tap. Yeah. So it's awkward. I guess I can just discard whatever else I draw on the Jace here. Yeah, so he's going for tap draw. Yeah, this is okay. Shizo. Does Shizo do it? I'm just making sure Shizo wouldn't cast Obsidat. No, we need the Hallowed Fountain, right? Because I've already used my Godless Shrine. Yeah, because we've got white source, black source, and then presumably I'll get another black source on the Delta. I just want to get the Obsidat into play, I think, and get it going. He's more likely to actually counter my Obsidat than he is to remove it with anything else in their deck. Like, they don't really have ways, unless he's on, like, Dismember, but that's not common. So we're going to pitch the Storehouse. We'll flip our Jace. He will unfortunately tap my Ghasts. I mean, this is risky, right? Because I can't Jace the Tar Pit. He only has one Tar Pit, so as long as I don't... Actually, wait a minute. If I Obsidat, don't we... I don't have enough black, do we? I might not be able to go for just casting the Obsidat. I guess I can Goryo's it. I do have Jace flashback Goryo's. That might be the safer play stream. I could also tear his hand apart. God, this is awkward, isn't it? I have a lot of different things to think about here. Like, if we... Yeah, because I'm at 6, so if I take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, obviously. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage, but I'm only gaining 2 here off the hardcast Obsidat. I actually think I need to consider flashing back into this Obsidat. Interesting lines to think about. Let me show you my graveyard a little bit bigger. I know it's hard to see graveyards on watching a stream on Magic Online. So what I'm thinking is maybe I'm supposed to Jace the Obsidat. I know it's not going to get to attack here, which sucks, but that's okay. Opponent went for the Cryptic line, and I could have maybe played around it a little bit better. No, he would have countered this play then. Yeah, I think we just want to get an Obsidat going against my opponent's deck, and then the best thing he could do is just maybe kill our Jace with his Tar Pit. But we still have a lot of inevitability. I have the ability to bring back these Ghasts several times. So I think I'm going to go with the super safe line, which is flashback this Vengeance to get Obs. I don't even know if I want to play out this Fountain. And if you're going to play this on Moto, you do want to make sure that you resolve that particular correctly. Oh, he should have made me fetch so he can't. Okay, I see. I see what you're saying, Riddick. I mean, he might just have another Cryptic here. Just awkward. It's not like he can counter the Obsidat coming into play. He can certainly tap my team again, but we're going to 7 here, so seems all right. Ooh, he has the go for the throat. Wow, I was not expecting that. Nothing. Okay. I was not expecting that, stream. I was not expecting go for the throat. Yeah. I absolutely should put it in the fountain. Because I might have to hardcast the Obsidat to get the last points across the table. So you could draw another Cryptic, you could draw... Okay, we got there. I would assume that we've got a pretty good game 1 against my opponent's deck. And I would assume my opponent has enough stuff in his graveyard, in his sideboard to fight decks like mine that are kind of dredge-like. So here's the thing. All of our card advantage cards are great. In a matchup like this where it's just attrition, what might not be as good is I probably won't need Kuro, because he's not a creature deck. I don't need to break through. Obsidats are great. We want these, even though he did have go for the throat. What don't I want? I probably want to switch over to some amount of Mentor. I probably want... Even just the first Surgical is nice. Favor is insane. Unless he's like on Tazagur and Gurmag, then of course it's the opposite. We might want to wait on that because I don't know. Most of those... If you want to look at my opponent's deck, it's right here. It's probably almost card for card this list. Is this a homebrew? Yeah, it's something I've been working on Riddix for a few weeks now. Dude, this stream is only homebrews, my friend. Budget build from a meta deck, says homie. Oh, you mean this, or... Oh, you're talking about your deck. Sorry, Riddix, I thought you were asking me that question. Let's see... Modern blue-black control. It's picking up speed. There's more people playing this, but my opponent's on the blue-black control. We have a minute and a half. Let me try to find it. It's not terribly rare, but it is a cool deck. Actually, it has not been putting up good results, so I'm having a hard time. Power, there we go, 2 of them. There's a couple. There's a couple that did well recently. So yeah, so they are on Tazagur, so we probably shouldn't... wow, he has mainboard bombs? Wow, double bomb? Alright, so hold up. So his graveyard hate is basically just... It's needleable. Needle is great in this matchup then. I don't necessarily want He Who. I probably just want Dispels, to be honest. I mean, Disenchant fights bomb too. Probably want Mentors. Probably just... You know what, let's just go full-blown transformational. Don't know if that's correct for this matchup, but... Give me, not pushes, give me, not favor, because of what we just talked about. Probably Disenchant maybe explosives. Favor is risky because he's on Tazagur. And then I can run some number of Goryos, or... some number of Ghast could still be run, but let's just switch over to Mentor mode and win, hopefully. I like this hand. Could easily take my Mentor, but I still like this hand. Is what their deck is designed to do. Alright, so he should take the Mentor. We'll see if he knows to do that. If a lot of people start playing this deck, it goes to tier 2 status. Would I still play it, or will I go rogue again? I mean, I still play Robopod, even though Saffron did that story on it or whatever. So I would still play it because it's kind of our baby, right? It's something Apollo that we built here on my show. So, I mean, at its core, this is a lot less original than the Robopod deck, because at its core, this is just a different take on the Esper Goryo's archetype. I wasn't pleased with that deck. Not that it doesn't win. I mean, I saw, what was it? French played a list that was, it wasn't his list, of course, but he played a list that was based on a 5-0 And it was like running like Delver of Secrets. It was just a really weird take on the deck. I mean, I think I just go Strand Bauble and say go. All right, so we have a Charter Course coming up. I like Charter Course. I don't know if it's what I want in this situation. I guess we take it because it's just a really solid draw spell. It's a little bit weaker if I don't get a threat on the table, so that would be a reason to fetch. He's not going to have an instant that I need to dispel in this situation, so I may just not want to draw that. I also don't want to necessarily expose this Strand, though, to a Spreading Seas. So, I mean, we could certainly draw it. It's not a bad, it's not something, you know, bad for us to see on the bauble. Like, it certainly gets, Charter Course in this matchup, like after we sideboarded out of the Reanimator wombo, is, as you can see, most of it is in the graveyard now. Yeah, you can take the Mentor here, but we've got a Jace. So Chart in this matchup post board is ideally a Divination for 2 mana. Am I hyped for new Wizards? Of course I am, Irish. I'm hyped for a lot of the new stuff that's coming out, for sure. I was brewing a pretty sweet Through the Breach, Traverse, Teamer Traverse. Ultimately, I gave up. Probably the most fun I ever had playing Magic was brewing my own deck. Oh yeah, it's so much fun to do it, Riddick. I don't think it'd be the same game for sure. Alright, so is he just going to needle my Jace? Okay. Sure. He just refuses to take this Mentor. This is fascinating to me. I don't want him to be able to cut us on black, right? Or blue, actually. He can't cut us on blue because he's a Spreading Seas deck, so let's make sure he can't cut me on black. So that's why I'm going to get the Shrine here. I guess he's going to name Jace. Okay, sure. Jace Vryn's Prodigy has been named. Another Flooded Strand. I don't want him to know that I just drew that Strand, to be honest. We did bring in the Disenchant, so I could just put Jace into play despite the Needle. Just say, screw it, I don't care about your Needle. Like, we could draw out of it, and then, of course, this is padding for Liliana Edict on my Mentor, so. Traversing for Emrakul was so funny. Yeah, Dominaria is going to be interesting, Irish, for sure. They did not mean to leak that. I was talking about it with my judge buddy tonight who was helping me brew this budget version. Oh, there's the Tazagir. And that's kind of why it's good we didn't do what we did. Ooh, okay. I think I'm supposed to resolve pieces. To be, I wish I could click on you, Jace. I think we're supposed to resolve pieces, and let's get the basic planes to do this. Yeah, I'm gonna go for pieces. Okay, we did whiff, kind of. I did leave in some Goryos, didn't we? Yeah, so we kind of whiffed, but we kind of didn't, because we just hit two, well, at least one reasonable, I mean, sure, my pieces didn't hit on the second. That's okay. We did at least hit one thing worth Goryosing, which is the Obsidat. So that's why I'm testing pieces in this deck. It's a little slow and grindy, but I like it. All right, I think we need to Serum, try to hit that tasty land drop. We don't. It's not going to happen until next turn, and we're probably screwed now. And that's okay. This is game 2. We already took the first game. I'm actually going to bottom that and take this land. And I guess I am punished for fetching the way that I did, but that's okay. We're not dead. Jace is a chump block, even though we can't activate him. Tazagir, you can have nothing. Tazagir hits nothing but lands, apparently. I mean, I don't think I block yet with Jace, do I? I don't think I block yet with Jace. So, because there's always the chance we hit the Disenchant. I mean, I'm tempted to just go Monastery, hold up Dispel. A lot of the ways he interacts with this Mentor are going to be through instant speed interaction. And Jace is, of course, Liliana Insurance. So let's go for it. I guess I just give him the Taziger. It's fine. So I give him the Inquisition, he gets to nab the Dispel and then remove the Mentor. So I'd rather just go wide and just leave him with Tazigers. And thankfully I do have a basic island, so... So this is where he wants to beat us with his Liliana or kill us with a, you know... There's a lot of reasons to not block with Jace here, Lily being the big one. I think I'll just go ahead and take this last wallop and hope that we, you know, don't die to like a tar pit off the top or what have you. Oh, it was a Jace, okay. Yeah, Jace is something that can return the Mentor. I cannot stop that. Yeah, now that's like the interesting question. I guess I'm supposed to Mentor into Inquisition now. At least we get the information. Like if I'm going to lose anyway, at least we get the information. How he sideboarded a little bit. Alright, a Dispel of his own and a Spreading Seas. Okay. So we take the Dispel. And kick it back. Yeah, I mean, opponent didn't end up getting his Graveyard Hate. He had a random Pithy Needle. I guess the needle's relevant for specifically just my Jace Fringe Prodigies, but it did come up, unfortunately. So maybe, I mean, I'm going to play this out as long as I can, obviously. I know our clock is still ticking, but I want to see what Graveyard Hate the opponent brought in and see if it's okay for me to maybe go back to some of these tools. And that's the advantage of bringing in even just the first Surgical. Although it's not amazing in this matchup, of course my opponent does have Snapcaster Mages. The benefit is we get to see how he sideboarded and see what tools he has available to fight the Esper, like Dredge almost side of our deck, the Iname Bloodghast side of our deck. If he doesn't have the tools to... Yeah, this actually looks like almost the same 75 I brought up that you guys could see, right? This guy just wasn't on Jace's, and this guy just happens to be on Jace's, okay. Yeah, the 5-0 list was... Okay, this is Jabberwocky, okay. So, Jabberwocky. He's into a Jace version, okay. Alright, so there he was thought scouring his Taziger, second Taziger away, which I like for sure. Utilizing his Jace in a really nice fashion there. Weren't you going to play something like Blue-White? I just don't have the cards to play it, Moogle, is honestly what's going on. Unless we like raise, you know, because the money from the Brew Challenge, that's fine. He's just trying to cut us on black, that's fine. Like, this game's going to be about our blue spells now. Ooh, but I am dead to that tar pit, potentially. Yeah, we might just be dead to that tar pit. Did I bring in some answers for tar pit? I mean, I think that I did, but... Or maybe I didn't know. Pushes and Pather in the yard. Ooh, you know what we could hit, though? I could Pieces of the Puzzle into Brutality. Oh, well, I don't have enough mana to... I'd have to fetch with Delta, and then we'd lose a life point anyway. Yeah, I could Pieces into... Potentially into... Actually, I should Pieces, because if I hit Goryo's Vengeance, one of the Vengeances we left in the deck, like, we can grab Obsidat and kill the Jace and have enough life points to not die to the tar pit, and then we can block Taziger with a Monk token. So I think no matter what, our line here is 2 Pieces. And then we got to fetch out our basic Swamp. Well, hold up. We should maybe fetch the basic Swamp first. If that's literally our best line, is like either of those plays. And he can't Field of Ruin, obviously, my basic Swamp. Okay, so we do it like this. We'll Pieces, get some triggers. And it's okay if we lose this second game. I mean, we did take game 1, so that is a-okay with me. I whiff. There's an Explosives. I mean, that could have turned on my Jace. So we literally whiffed. Would it have been better for us to Serum Visions? I would have hit an Explosives that didn't do very much. So, yeah, I guess we're just dead. Happens. Well, I mean, I did like annihilate my own life points, right? Like we thought seized, and I had to fetch shock and shock ourselves a couple times. So it's not unreasonable. I mean, I should play out, all my cantrips and make it seem like at least I could have outs. There's a brutality there. Yeah, this just doesn't do it. We'll kill his Jace just to prove a point. See if my opponent remembers that he has a tar pit. So it looks like, I mean, I would assume, okay, so we have his exact list. Except it looks like he swapped these Jace Architects of Thought. I mean, it looks like we're just fighting off against spell bombs. Doesn't actually seem like I have much more hate I have to fight through, so I actually want to go back to the combo game one. I don't have the Fatal Push for your tar pit. And I don't really plan, if there was, like, just judging from Jabberwock's list, I mean, now that we have perfect information, that's even better, I suppose. I mean, the way that I would probably play against him now that I know what's up, I'd probably do a little bit different board plan. It'd probably be more like, obviously not Favor because he has a... I'd rather go beneath a little bit, like not Monastery Pieces. I'd rather try to go under, which would be... Oh, we did have the Disenchant in the Needle. I mean, Explosives also hits my opponent's... or makes him pop his spell bombs sooner than he probably would want to. How much of this can we get back into the deck? Anames, Bloodghasts. Not that we cut all the Mentors, I'm just saying, I'm just looking what we could potentially do. Not the Pieces isn't correct, like I like the idea of testing Pieces just because it's got some of the same text as Peer, except although it's one more mana and it's sorcery speed, but we get to look at two, we get to potentially keep two cards, and then in addition it's also binning our Reanimate, whereas Peer Through Depths puts on the bottom of our library, Pieces of the Puzzle says put the rest into your graveyard. Yeah, I was just trying to represent something, Adritha, before we just gave up and go to the sideboard. Oh yeah, the last Vengeance should go back in, and then that's it. Yeah, I mean, I like going lower, trying to go beneath, because well, I mean, if he's just bringing in Pithy, how many needles does he have? Just two? Okay, he's bringing in two needles just to answer my Jaces. I could like just do this Swapperino, boom. So you can have your Pithy needles, opponent. Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about it. Yeah, it looks like he swapped these Architects of Thoughts into Mind Sculptors when he was released. What am I needling besides Walkers? Oh yeah, Spellbomb. There you go. So that's why we want our needle. Exactly. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I like kind of going back to the combo, more or less. Just, it looks like he's able to fight over the Jace and the Mentor side of my deck, unfortunately. So let's go back to being unfair and just beat his small amount of graveyard hate. It's not impossible for us to do that. So chart Vengeance Obs. I would keep this hand. I mean, the issue is if he just manages to find a spell bomb and I don't find one of my answers to spell bomb. The problem is this doesn't have turn one hand hate disruption, so it's very possible that he does stick graveyard hate against us. So the fact that I kept so quickly means he might want to consider mulliganing. I guess he does not. Okay. I mean, remember, I'm playing a relatively suboptimal version of the deck. And it just has to do with what I actually own in paper and what I'm able to borrow for tomorrow's event. And then come Star City time, like I hope to have this streamlined and I hope to have maybe bought into some more of the components. Alright, I almost would rather just Inquisition here. Because he went bottom top. I feel like he would have just played out, though, his Spell Bomb if he had it. I mean, here's the problem. If I don't go for Charter Course this turn, we're doing the combo a lot more slowly. Like, a lot more slowly. We're not going to get the Obsidat online much later. It's very possible the opponent has a counterspell or piece of, hand disruption anyway. In fact, their deck kind of favors hand disruption more than it does permission, if you notice the way that the deck is set up. It's like just a couple of cryptics and the rest of the deck is just very much hand hate, and I'm very surprised we haven't been Inquisitioned or Thoughtseized just yet. It's probably coming next turn. I mean, it might be correct for us to go off one more turn slowly to make sure that we have the disruption to protect the combo. But I think I'm just going to chart and make it so he doesn't cut us on black very easily. So we're going to go for the swamp, actually. And we're just going to chart, and, if he's got the hate, he's got the hate, What change did you make? Is your deck thought-seizing creatures to get them in the yard? What? Yeah, exactly. Haters will hate. No, we've added a lot of different engines. We're testing Riddick. I appreciate you asking. Let me show you the list. So we're testing, right now I'm testing pieces, but we've got chart. All right, so you should obviously take the Vengeance. You snap take Vengeance. It's very easy. It's in 2 months. I got 2 months to get ready for this hobo. This is not ultimately going to be the end build of the deck. I'm probably going to, obviously, invest. It's $40 for the 4th Vengeance, so I'll probably invest in the 4th Vengeance. I don't play the 4th Vengeance in Legacy. I only play the 2 or 3 of. What's the spicy 6-mana legend that I'm playing? Are you talking about Aname? This one? Yeah, Death Aspect Aname. I might go to 3 of her. I'm only going to have access to 2 for the event tomorrow. So he doesn't do anything else interesting. Okay. Well, I just drew another Goryos, so easy peasy. Actually, I like land drop. There might be something. I mean, I don't see anything like Spell Pierce in my opponent's list, but we won't always have perfect information. Like at the event, I won't have perfect information, so it's kind of moot. But I like going land drop, and then Inquisitioning. See what's up. So Needle, Fulminator, Cryptic. I mean, this just doesn't. We just don't care, right? Like none of this does anything. Don't care about Fulminator Mage. I guess I care about the fact that Fulminator lets him block. Like Jace can't stop Obsidat. Cryptic could return the Obsidat. Like I do care about that factor. Needle doesn't answer anything in my deck anymore. I guess I take the Fulminator because we took out Jace's, right? Because he just keeps bringing in his Needle. I guess he's afraid of Grizzlebrand. Like my archetype normally plays Grizzlebrand. So I don't think my opponent was wrong in the way that he kind of feared some of these tools from us. All right, we're back on the Reanimator plan. All right, put you to almost we're almost able to start getting our blood gas in. He's at 11. You could run into Dispel. Yeah. We definitely Inquisition first. It's like the Dispel wouldn't be hit. That's right. Like his Dispels wouldn't. I actually don't even see any Dispels in his list. I mean, he may have tweaked his list a little bit. This is in February, so I mean we can look at this. You're welcome to name Jace. It's not in my deck anymore, opponent. You would time out on Moto so much. We got 5 minutes. I'll be fine. So this literally does nothing, but opponent doesn't know that, so we can't say one way or the other that he made a mistake or not. I guess I'd try to get in first. Did you draw the removal spell? Ooh, he drew the removal spell. Really? You top decked the... Oh, okay. I was going to be he just found it? That's insane. All right, let's pieces. All right, there's a blood gas. That's perfect. I actually should have done this first then. I'll take the Dispel. I don't really want to play out my blood gas, do I? I guess I do care about him having something like... yeah, there's a real possibility my opponent could... okay, he's had enough. Nice. I was going to say a reason to not bring in the Bloodghast there and just leave him and then have fetch is Nile Spellbomb. Like I don't like or like removal spell into Spellbomb, but if he couldn't answer the Obsidat. And like I might just play 3 Obsidats for my event tomorrow. I do have access to more. Like there's a couple things I can move around, guys. One of the things I unfortunately wasn't able to borrow or buy into for tomorrow's event is the 4th Vengeance. So like the peer, like these are the filler cards. If you want, if you're curious, you're like, where are you thinking about changing BrewSpy? I was able to borrow from my friends 3 Jace Vryn's Prodigy. The things that probably can't change, I just threw in the 4th Brutality, not because it's correct, but because I think it's better than just these filler cards. And I happen to own a playset of Brutality from my Legacy deck. Grizzlebrand's like $5. No, I just don't think this deck is a Grizzlebrand deck, Ridix. I think that there are decks in Modern that can play Grizzlebrand very well. I don't think that Grizzlebrand has ever really been what the Esper Goryo's deck archetype is about. I play Grizzlebrand in my Legacy deck, my Tin Fins deck, so I have access to Grizzlebrands in paper and Moto. That's not the issue. So what I was going for was lasting advantage. So Grizzlebrand, not that I'm saying he's not lasting advantage. Card can certainly be insane and can certainly swing certain matchups easily. This card should definitely be discussed. I'm trying, though, to build around... my build around is Aname, so I'm trying to build synergies around Aname. So Obsidat's a spirit. He's tutorable with the Aname effect. He and Kuro are both tutorable with the Aname effect. Bloodghasts are tutorable with the Aname effect. So if I was going to make any changes, like if I could buy cards that are not available to me, it would be the 3rd Aname would happen and the 4th Vengeance, and then I would test some number of pieces or peer. The cool thing about peer through depths over something like pieces of the puzzle is we can actually splice the Goryo's Vengeance onto the peer through depths, which is really good against permission. Wow, we're 1-0. We're running hot. Have I considered Tar Pit? I just don't own Tar Pit. I can't say we're running hot. We've only beaten 1 deck. I would assume Blue-Black Control has a bad matchup against like even normal Dredge, so we're probably maybe, I wouldn't say worse for them to fight against. I feel like we're certainly more of a pushover deck, but I mean, if my opponent has, if we can make some of his cards just dead post board, we absolutely do that, and we managed to do that by taking out some number of Jaces. Actually, I think I just took out the whole playset of Jace. The Pithy Needle could only hit Bauble at that point, so I shouldn't say that his Pithy Needle had no targets. It did technically still have fetches and my Baubles as targets, but I did take out Jace for game 3. Can I zoom in on the big black creature? Which one? Which one? He Who Hungers? Iname? Which one? We're running several big black creatures. Yeah, this is kind of like modern Tin Fins. Cobra D with the Fallerino. Welcome to the Brews by the Magic Guy show. Appreciate you. What's Bobble here for? How's Kuru been? I haven't gotten to use Kuru yet. He's the newest card in the deck, Potato Lover. What's Bobble here for? I actually really like Bobble with Mentor. It's not really so much for the main board plan. I just really like Bobble when I play Mentors. In Legacy, I get to pair Mentor with like Chrome Mox and Lotus Petal. So in Modern, we get to pair him with like weaker cards like Dispel and Bobble. Whereas in Legacy, I get to pair this with like Cabal Therapy, Dark Ritual, etc. So it's certainly different. Once you order one, our hobby shop doesn't really work like that, unfortunately, I wish. Next to Pieces, this one. So Iname is kind of our build-around card. I really wish I could have access to a 3rd one. I'm going to certainly buy a 3rd one before the event in Baltimore. So she says, when she enters the battlefield, you may search your library for any number of spirit cards, put them in your graveyard. If you do, shuffle your library. So she'll go tutor any other Inames we have still in the library. She'll tutor any Obsidats we haven't drawn yet. She'll tutor the playset of Bloodghasts. She tutors He and Kuro. Now, Kuro and He are for very different matchups. So Obsidat is for grinds, or maybe burn. He Who Hungers is for control or combo. Anything mid-rangey, possibly. Kuro is for any sort of creature strategy. Also, he can clear a path. We were playing something really, really bad. Instead, I was running Patron. Oh, no, you're fine, Ridix. I have time. So we were running Patron instead of Kuru. Kuro. So this guy says, don't worry about Goblin Offering. Whenever Patron of the Aki attacks, creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. It doesn't matter that Kuro is black either, unless we want to run something bad like the Black Shoal. Although Black Shoal is something else I can splice Vengeances onto, which is kind of cool, and I might try instead of... These are just filler cards. Like, the cards I'm not sure about are... Because this got cut. It just wasn't good enough. The problem is our Bloodghasts get blocked a lot. So for a board state where our Bloodghasts would get blocked and our opponent is blanking 6 to 8 damage off of 3 to 4 Bloodghasts, Kuro fixes that. Kuro says, pay 1 life, target creature gets -1 until end of turn. So as long as there are creatures I can target, I can wipe the board clean, and the Kuro and the Bloodghasts get in for 17 damage, ideally. Dallas is coming up. That sounds about right, Adritha. So I cut Patron. It was a little bit too cute. And the problem is Kuro and Obsidat aren't always the answer. Like, I do play other archetypes, and we're not true Dredge. We're not even like Grishelbrand. Like, we do have to grind. Like, this deck does grind, and it grinds very well. I think this deck wouldn't exist without Charter Course. So let me spend some time talking about some of the new pieces that have been added to this archetype. So, and then I kind of regard Peer and Pieces as part of both this pile and this pile, but we'll get to that. So anytime I play like a Reanimator deck, because as I do play quite a bit in Legacy, I don't really do it in Modern for various reasons, although it's ripe for that archetype. In fact, one of the reasons that Goryo's Vengeance is $40 in paper is because people are realizing that Grishelbrand is really a solid option again. So interestingly enough, when you look at these decks, it's A plus B. As unexciting as that is, fundamentally, you are an A plus B combo. So what's A? A is I need to get my reanimate targets into the graveyard. So we have 4 general purpose. I really want to make this 5. Jaces are also reanimate targets. We'll get to that. And then we have so these are all around good. Like Obsidat is really solid. Aname will go grab us a place at a Bloodghast. Jaces, of course, are very flexible in that we can use it as card advantage. I can minus their threats to buy us time. So these are all fundamental tools that are, these are the normal tools you'll see out of Esper Goryos. You'll normally see Vengeance and Obsidat and Jace. This is the normal, this is the triumphant, this is normal. This is not weird. What's weird is I've played this deck before and I've always felt that it's a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? I like it. I think it's cool. I have played like stock lists before of Vengeance plus Prodigy plus Obsidat. The archetype has technically existed since the printing of Jace. This has been a thing people have been trying to do. Maybe even a little bit before Jace, for instance, Prodigy's printing, people have been trying to pair Obsidat with Vengeance. It's really solid in Modern. This guy dodges Fatal Push, and it's a very popular card right now. He dies to Path, or he gets exiled to Path, which is worse. Him dying to Terminate isn't the end of the world or a Dismember. We can reanimate him. So that's a reason for me to buy into the 4th Vengeance. You can even, if you want to go budget, if you're looking at this deck and you're like, BrewSpy, I can never afford this deck, well, that's not necessarily true. You could play Footsteps of the Goryos. So what's interesting about Footsteps is is something that I might re-include. It's not something I could get for tomorrow's event. I do want to run, I think, ideally, the ideal build of this deck will be 4 Vengeance and 1 Footsteps. So Footsteps says return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, sacrifice that creature at the beginning of your next end step. What's great about Footsteps is although it doesn't work with Jace, it works with most every other legendary threat in our deck. Or just creature. Guess you could do weird things with Mentor with that. Alright, never mind. Anyway, so Obsidat is a good candidate for Footsteps. Although you don't get the haste and you don't get to use him immediately, he'll still blink and you get to keep him. Aname, we still get the when she enters the battlefield trigger. So I actually really like this card as like a one-of to supplement the Vengeances. So really this build is just missing just a couple pieces. Strategic planning. Planning could be in the deck. I actually prefer, before we queue another game, I actually prefer Chart. In my testing, Chart has been nuts because Chart is game 1. It gives us the ability to, it's like it's kind of like our, what is that card? Gets run in, I mean, I play Legacy Tin Fins, not Reanimator, so I don't run this card actually, but they run, in addition to Ponders and Brainstorms, they run, whereas Tin Fins just runs Ponders and Brainstorms, they run, Oh my goodness, why is this card eluding me? It's the blue. It's the blue looting. It was the original. I'll think of it later. But this is kind of like our modern version of that card. So worst case scenario, yeah, chart seems great. It's super awesome. Like if we're playing fair, like with mentors, and I get to attack with like a token at least. Like let's say they kill the mentor, boohoo. If I have like a monk or two left over, I get to cast this as 2 mana divination. It's just draw 2 with no downside. If we need to put something into the graveyard, it can do that too. Am I thinking of Careful Study? Yeah. Thank you. So this is like our modern legal Careful Study, actually. And I know you're like, no, no, it's not, Bruce By. It's not as good. Blah, blah, blah. Like, okay. Sure, we don't have Force of Will in Modern. Like, sure, we don't get sweet, awesome, efficient cards like Careful Study. Sure, we're not in red, so we don't get Faithless Looting. And Faithless is arguably better because you get to flash it back, whereas Careful Study is better in the Reanimator decks of Legacy because you get to pitch it to Force of Will. So, sure, we don't get these cool tools because we're not in those colors. Well, Thoughtseize does the deed too. I can just Thoughtseize myself. And I know you're like, well, BrewSpy, that's terrible. Like, well, no, it's not. Like, there's certain matchups where that's perfectly reasonable. That's absolutely what I'm supposed to do, and that's why I'm on 4 of them. Because absolutely what I'm supposed to do in certain matchups, like, weirdly enough, maybe even Burn, I would do this play. I know it sounds crazy, but like getting the Obsidat online a turn sooner would be correct. So maybe even if we're on the play and we know it's Burn, I would consider Thoughtseizing my Obsidat and then Vengeancing it immediately. The second I get that going a turn faster, the more likely we're going to win, because that's going to read for the rest of the game against our Burn opponent. I gain 2 life every turn. Every turn they have to have a Skullcrack effect, and then of course I have I don't care about Burn if I have a playset of Brutalities. I mean, I'll still lose to it occasionally. So Burn players in the room that are watching, like I'm not saying my deck is going to best, Burn every time. I'm just saying like our archetype, we're not as dead to Burn as it might appear. Like between the playset of Brutality, just like Chart a Course is another really efficient way to get some of these Reanimator targets into the yard. I didn't know it was only 3 Vengeance. That's all I have in paper. I built the deck to reflect what I have in paper. Here, I'll open a new copy just because I'm kind of tired. It's already 3 in the morning and we might already be calling it. I'm so glad you guys showed up, though. I'm sorry. I'm so tired. I almost timed out against our blue-black control opponent. I don't think I have another game in me, so... but if you want to talk theory, I'll talk theory for a little bit longer with you guys, or if you guys have suggestions for the deck, I'm open to them. Let me just, like I said, I want to open a fresh copy of the deck so we can... So, okay. What do I actually want to play at the Star City event? I probably want to try a Peer Through Depths, but I want the 4th Goryo's Vengeance. For sure. I'm going to have to invest in the 4th Vengeance before the event. They're not like $1 million. They're $40. It's a lot for a piece of cardboard, but like this card's not going anywhere. So probably 4th Vengeance, which coincidentally I have on Moto. I just don't have in paper. I like 3 Jaces, but for budget concerns, I'm borrowing the 3rd Jace. I might not have access to these for the event, so this might even go down to just 2 Jaces. I might not run the playset of Brutality. That's a lot of Brutality. It's just what I had for today's stream. Maybe 3 is more correct. I don't know. If we're going to do the Bloodghast at all, you want the playset. He and Kuro have yet to prove themselves. I think I want the 4th Aname. And then that's too many pieces of the puzzle. It should just be maybe 1 or 2 max. And then the last card slot becomes Footsteps? Something like that? Yeah, Vengeance is $40. Curious what your issue is with the traditional stock lists. I've played the deck before. I'm not a fan. It's not that I don't think they're good. I've played it. My feeling on it is that they're mediocre. And this is a mediocre deck. I'm not trying to say, oh, my list's better. My list is less mediocre. Like, no, my list is more so mediocre. If I'm going to play a mediocre deck, I'd rather it has my own flair and my own testing and my own, like, tools, my own style. Like, I don't much, you guys know I don't much care for, oh, I'm going to go on the internet and look at somebody else's deck and, like, do I really only want 2? Yeah, I could play a 3rd. I own a playset of Obsidat, so we could do 3. I don't know if 2 or 3 is correct. Just case in point, though, Aname tutors for the Obsidat, but that doesn't mean Aname doesn't also tutor for me to have another Reanimate spell, so I'm aware of that. That's why the Kuru and the He Who Hungers are weak, both of them. That's why when we were testing Lingering Souls plus Sekai, that was also weak. So originally the deck concept was I was going to Iname into a playset of Bloodghasts and have some number of spirits, and then I was going to put Sekai onto the table. Sekai says sacrifice 8 spirits, return Sekai from your graveyard to the battlefield, and if he would ever take damage, you make 1/1s, which is kind of cool. It didn't work. That's actually where the deck name comes from, because I was originally going to be playing a bunch of Lingering Souls, and we kind of went away from that. Not necessarily that that's a bad thing. And I haven't tested pieces long enough to say for sure if this is correct. What about playing Esper Gifts? I used to love Esper Gifts. That was my jam. You're talking to an Esper Gifts, I wouldn't say master, but I played it for years. That was what we did in Modern for like the first year or two of this stream. Years and years ago, back in college, let's see. It's so weird to say that past tense because I just graduated not too long ago. It's weird to say that past tense. Let me show you where we ended. Should be under G for Go Godo gifts. All right, Go Goryo's Go Godo gifts. Let me see if I can find it. Go Godo gifts. So Go Godo gifts was my gifts deck for years. I actually bought and played this in paper. Oh god, this is like a super janky version. Anyway, I tried all. This was back when I still owned Jeskai control, and I loved playing like 4-color control variants. This, of course, is like super old tech. This is like years and years old, so none of these cards are really relevant for where Modern is anymore. But yeah, my reanimate targets were, this is like pre-Kolaghan's command. My reanimate targets were the girls and Godo. Godo says when he enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an equipment card, put it on the battlefield if you do shuffle. Whenever Godo attacks, untap it and all samurai you control. So this is actually really cool with like vigilant creatures like the Batterskull and the Colonnade. We actually had lines where we would guarantee a kill if they didn't interact with the Batterskull token or the Godo. So basically you would swing a Colonnade plus the Batterskull plus the Godo, and you get another attack step, and you get to swing the Colonnade, the Batterskull, and the Godo a second time. This is like years and years old. This has like teachings and all sorts of wonderful nonsense in it, but I love this deck dearly. I'm never deleting this list because it's fond. I look very fondly back on these times. Okay, Kronos was out though when we were playing this, so it's not like super ancient. Kronos wasn't like years and years ago. Okay, so it's not like super ancient. You know, there's a Kronos, and I was testing an Ojutai's command to bring back Snapcaster. So why don't you play Demigod? Well, the problem with Demigod, that's a good question for the deck we're working on. So the problem with Demigod is how do you get the Demigod to get, like, it has the same problem as Sakai. I'll show you guys all these different synergies we tried with the deck real quick if you want to see them. Like the problem with Sakai and Patron and all these other tools, and is the same issue with Kuro and He Who Hungers. It's the same exact issue, is these guys are just filler. Like, He and Kuro do nothing unless I've already Inamed, whereas Obsidet does. He only works against like mid-range control or combo. Kuro will only work against creature strategies. Patron just was bad. We much would rather have Kuro in this spot, but this was just an Anthem effect for my Bloodghasts to swing with. Wasn't strong enough. Sekai wasn't working even with a playset of Lingering Souls. I tried a playset of Lingering Souls originally to try to dread return the Sekai. And the problem was with Sekai just wasn't powerful enough. It wasn't like I was dread returning a Grizzlebrand. Have I seen the new Dominaria cards that were kind of spoiled? I did see some of them too. We were talking about it with my buddy earlier tonight. So even the playset of Lingering Souls was having trouble reanimating the Sekai. So in theory, we would have a playset of Bloodghast that we played a land to landfall them into play, and then you have some number of souls on the battlefield. You can what is it, sacrifice? Yeah, sacrifice the tokens, the Iname, and the Bloodghasts, and well, but you just get an 8/8. And how good is an 8/8 in Modern, right? So that was kind of just also mediocre. So if my feelings, he used Iname to fill up his yards, ran Kokoshu, and then they came into play and killed each other, made my opponents lose 20 life. That's super cool. I don't know how I would pull that off without like As Foretold, Living, and that's kind of already a deck. But that is a way we could go. What about tap out gifts? Yeah, oh, Demigod was the other card we thought about. Demigod is better if we run more than 20. Well, we actually, this version only has 19 mana sources. So first of all, we need to add a lot more mana to the deck, would be the first thing. Second thing, how do we get the... Okay, I get it, right? Aname puts all the demigods in the graveyard, but like, how do we get the demigod back? Like, how do I get it back? And that was the issue. Like the deck needs to change drastically. Like, how do we get the fourth demigod into our hand, and how do we cast it? So we'd have to, like, the deck would change dramatically. I'm not saying it'd be worse. Like, Demigod's amazing. Like, this thing is actually really reasonable. It is a flying haste 5/4, and you would have an army of them, and your opponent would die. But here's the problem. How do we, it's a little clunky. Like, how do we, I mean, just as clunky as all these other options I've been trying. Like the deck has about 2 to 3 spots left in it, and I haven't figured out what those last spots are. I would need something like... Well, see, I don't want to add another card. Like, that was the problem with Sekai, is we had to add another card. I needed to also have a Lingering Souls. And while at first it seemed like Lingering Souls is reasonable card to run in Modern, it certainly is. Lingering Souls is fine. I might even end up putting Lingering Souls in this deck, even if it doesn't have any weird synergies like trying to Dread Return a Sekai Season's End guide. That's fine. The problem was I wasn't finding, like, I was finding the Aname, and I was reanimating the Aname, so I was getting the Bloodghasts, I just also wasn't, in addition, finding the Soul. And, like, Pieces could help that. Like, Pieces and Peers, if we want to run tools like this, would obviously help us get into Souls. And, like, for the tournament, one of my buddies has Liliana the Veil. I might be able to borrow a Liliana. So, like, you know, cards like Liliana, like, we could go more grindy, which would be a Demigod of Revenge version. Like, we could go more traditional Goryos, which would be like Liliana the Veil, Liliana the Last Hope. Like, I might be able to have access to these cards for the tournament. I just don't know what cards I'm going to have access to for the tournament yet. Why don't you just play on Burial Rites? It's not that it's bad. It just, we would be like gifts then. And I'm kind of trying to use Aname as my gifts. Does that make sense? It's kind of strange. Let me clarify that. It's a little bit strange. Let me clarify that. Put these in the sideboard so we have room so you guys can see what's actually going on. Okay, so Aname is kind of like my Buried Alive. There we go. It's Buried Alive, right? Aname is kind of like my Buried Alive. So Buried Alive, you guys don't remember, this is kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like a big Entomb. So search your library, and ideally I do this turn 3. So it actually, it feels, because God, I've been playing Magic too long. I've played when Buried was a reasonable card in constructed format. So search your library for up to 3 creature cards, put them in your graveyard, then shuffle. This only sees play these days in like Cube, but basically Aname is kind of like trying to be my Buried Alive, except she doesn't have the limitation of just 3. So if we were to Footsteps or Goryos the Aname, I go tutor up the Obsidats, I go tutor up the Bloodghasts. It's just, okay, well, do we want her to tutor something? And she also tutors up any extra copies of herself. But what else do we want her to potentially be able to do? Do we want her to be able to kill a board of creatures? Well, that's Kuro in theory. Do we want... But here's the issue. It's the same issue as Sakai. And the same issue even with tutoring for Obsidat. Like, really the only cards that are working with the Aname so far are the Bloodghasts. Yeah, Gifts is more value in slow. I mean, we could run like Nether Trader. We could run Akuma. Like, we've talked about a lot of different cards in the Spirit archetype. Like, there's Geist. Geist is a reasonable card on its own, and then, you know, Geist also can be Goryosed and deals 6 damage. 4 of which is in the air. I mean, like, there's lots of different ways we could go with this archetype. You know, I actually picked up a Geist on Moto. I don't have one in paper, but I picked one up on Moto to test it potentially. So, like, you know, like, Aname, like, Geist and Obsidat we could theoretically cast on their own, and then it's like, okay, well, if I reanimate this, this is 6 damage that's hard for them to deal with. What about a Toolbox Spirit deck? Sort of. Not exactly. And that's the thing, is like, I kind of don't want to be too toolboxy. I just want the right tools. I want only the right tools to end the game. That's why I was looking into things like, not necessarily Sakai, but like Patron of the Aki. We just wanted to end the game. And when Professor French picked up my deck and played it on one of his last streams, he actually played the version I was testing with Patron instead of he and Kuro. So it actually looked more like, the list I gave him looked more like this, minus... It didn't have Chart yet, and that was so foolish because Chart is like perfect for this deck. But he played like a Thoughtscour version of this with like Gurmag, Angler, and Tazagar, and it was close. I know ultimately he told me, yeah, it still needs some polish, it still needs some work, Bruce Spy. And I was like, yeah, I don't disagree. He had a lot of good things to say about the deck too. Like, he like turned forward a Tron player. Feels bad knowing all of those cards you just mentioned, with the exception of Geist. You don't know what Geist of St. Traff does? Yeah, so how toolboxy can we afford to be? Because we're not a gifts ungiven deck. And we could look into it. I want to bring the curve down, and like that's a reason to not run pieces or footsteps. The problem is I just don't always get my A plus B, which is a discard outlet, which is things like Seize, Brutality, Chart, Jace. I just don't always get a discard outlet, and that's modern. Like just because I'm running playset of Thoughtseize, maybe 3 or 4 Brutalities. Yeah, this is 3 right now. Maybe a playset of Chart doesn't mean we always get the discard outlet. Doesn't mean I always find Iname or Obstat. I won't always find we won't always have the A plus B combo in Modern, and we don't have something like Entomb. So I know I'm jokingly saying that Iname is sort of like an Entomb, or more like a Buried Alive. Yeah, she's more like a Buried Alive effect, but for spirits. But so what's interesting about this synergy is maybe that's okay. Maybe it's okay that Iname is just getting us Blood Gas and putting Obstat into the graveyard. Maybe that's all it needs to be. Like again, like we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Because again, I haven't been too pleased with just Obsidat and just Jace as the targets for the Esper Goryo's deck. I've always felt like the deck wants another target, and whether that target could be something like Iname, or whether that target could be something like Grizzlebrand or Jin Gitaxias. I think that Jin and Grizzlebrand don't offer as interesting of a deck to build. Yeah, Jin is spelled with J. So like I am fully aware that there are lots of very powerful reanimate targets for Goryo's Vengeance that like even like Emrakul, we could try to be more like instant. The problem is we don't have Faithless Looting. Like you kind of need Faithless Looting to make that work, because you need to be able to you Faithless with 3 mana and then you Goryo's the. But anyway, like I'm fully aware, stream, of Grizzlebrand and Jin, like tutor targets like Jin or tutor targets like Emrakul, all very powerful potentially. I'm not saying that I won't try those for the Star City event, okay? It's always good to maybe not show you guys all of my tech. What about Moloku? Just because we've, relatively recently been getting a lot more people watching the show. So maybe it's good I don't show all of the tech, but I'm fully aware that these are some of the most powerful targets you could possibly Vengeance in Modern. I just wanted to explore targets that you could also Footsteps. I wanted to explore creatures that give you a lasting advantage. And I'm not saying that these aren't lasting advantages. These are all lasting advantages. Let me clarify. I'm looking for creatures that I don't actually have to... ones that don't shuffle our graveyard. Ones that I don't have to actually connect with. And yeah, okay. And ones that I don't have to do specifically during my opponent's end steps. Let me say it one more time. One of the reasons I'm exploring Iname and things like Bloodghast in this archetype is because I'm looking for reanimate targets that aren't as specific. In other words, Iname and Obsidat will always work whether they're done during my turn, whether they're done during my opponent's turn, whether I do them in an end step, whether I do them in an upkeep. It doesn't matter. With Jin must be done during ideally my opponent's end step to get the full effect of the card. What about Moloku? It might just be a worse Obstat though. What about Packrat? Packrat's cool. Why are you not running Kokoshu? How do I... Okay, you want me to run Kokoshus? Like, how do I... Well, but Kokoshu doesn't die when it comes to Vengeance, by the way. We talked about Kokoshu. I spelled it wrong, though. Kokosho. The problem with Kokosho is that Kokosho doesn't die when it comes to Vengeance. He would die with Footsteps, but then you don't get to attack with him. Yeah, it says when dies. So all of the Elder Dragon spirits are kind of awkward with Goryos. That's why it's not really something that people have explored before. I don't think anybody's really explored Iname in Modern. This gets me going. This gets me really excited to brew with the deck. I mean, we did just beat a blue-black control player just with an army of Bloodghasts. And, oh no, we had help from Obsidat, so... Yeah, it has to die. Karmic Guide is not legal? No, it's not. But yeah, so let me explain why we're not like I have tried these targets before in like an Esper Goryos, by the way. All of them. I've tried Jin and Emrakul and Grizzle. Emrakul has the downside of it shuffles away all the hard work we did getting the graveyard going. Grizzlebrand has to connect, and Jin has to stay alive. Well, so does Grizzlebrand. So Emrakul gets around the whole, well, it doesn't matter, it's not going to die in Modern, and it's a very powerful effect. Annihilator 6 gets to deal 15. Awesome. This checks almost all the boxes I want to check, except that it annihilates my graveyard. Maybe that's okay. Like, we just annihilated them for 6, but like we're not the colors to play the Grizzlebrand Vengeance, or sorry, the Emrakul Vengeance package. We don't have a turn 1 discard effect. Other than like I guess I could Thoughtseize myself into Vengeance, and that seems really weak. You would probably want, in addition to the Thoughtseize myself into Vengeance, you would also want Faithless Looting into Vengeance if you're going to play this card. So this guy's kind of out. Not that he's not strong. I play him in my Legacy deck. Like, card's ridiculous. For maybe Legacy Tin Fins, not so much Modern weird trying to beat Tin Fins. What's up, 100? So Grizzlebrand is awesome and has a lot of applications. Even if he doesn't connect, we could still potentially draw the 7. But the pay 7 life in Modern is a lot different than it is in Legacy. And I'm not saying that I won't re-explore Grizzlebrand in this deck. And I'm not saying that I won't try to, you know, cut the cute spirit package eventually and try Grizzlebrand again in Modern. I still think this is a very easy inclusion in a deck like this. Because even with Footsteps, he still draw 7. That's awesome. There's plenty of matchups where that's going to be fantastic. And certainly a 1 or 2 of Grizzlebrand could still be discussed. And I think he's the one that I would include first before I include Jin. While Jin is better against... the problem with Grizzlebrand is you don't have Force of Will. And I know you're like, well, BrewSpy, we're talking Modern, we're not talking Legacy. Stop talking about these cards that aren't playable in the format. Well, no, like that's why Grizzlebrand's so nuts in Legacy. Is due to things like Force. And sure, you could try to do something weird with Shoal. There's people that are trying to play like Shoal in Blue Moon Jace decks right now in Modern even. But the problem is fundamentally paying 7 life is a huge cost in Modern. And because all the decks are so proactive because you have to be. Like even that blue-black deck I played against had proactive things it could do. I think that Grizzlebrand will be run before Jin. But I don't think these are the things I want to be testing leading up to the tournament. I know they already work. I'm aware that they already work. I'm trying to maybe break new ground with the deck, try something a little bit off the cuff, try something new. I know that these cards have all worked. We tested them all in the past. Jin is the hardest because it gets dismembered, and it's also the hardest because you have to Vengeance it, and you have to do it during your opponent's end step. So this guy says, at the beginning of your end step, draw 7. Well, great. We'll get to that part. Each opponent's maximum hand size is reduced by 7. So if Jin exists on the table during my opponent's end step, they must discard to 0 cards. Great. That's awesome for combo, right? That's actually really cool. I usually like running a split of Grizzlebrand and Jin because Grizzlebrand has to connect, and Grizzlebrand has drawbacks against decks that will be pressuring our life total, whereas Jin doesn't. And he's much better against the combo decks of the format, or even like the controller mid-range potentially, because us putting them on 0 cards and then us drawing back to 7 cards is awesome. Why not you just play Worldspine Worms? Well, the problem with Worldspine is okay, so here's the issue with Worldspine. Not that it's not how I looked at Pack Rats though. I like Pack Rat, Mucifer. We've had a few people mention Pack Rat. I like Pack Rat. So here's the problem with Worm, is that he has to die. He has the same issue as Kokosho, is that he has to die. So Worldspine Worm says, win dies, create the tokens. I'm not saying swinging for 15/15 trample isn't awesome. It's freaking awesome. This is run in all of the Breach styles of Vengeance. It's run in Grizzlebrand because, this is really good. Like, even though it's not a target for Vengeance in their deck, this is really good. This is really good. This gets the job done. Goblin Guy says, 7/7 Flying Lifelink, Yawgmoth's Bargain isn't good enough. Not always. I've played the deck a lot, Goblin Guy, those previous versions that do run like a 1 to 2 Grizzlebrand. I think they're fantastic. I think they're also specific. Like, Obsidat is a little bit more... I know it's hard to understand because you probably haven't played as many games with the deck as I have, and I'm not saying this is the answer. I'm not saying any of this is the answer. I'm just saying this synergy here, these are flexible enough that they'll work in most situations in Modern. Flipping like a Planeswalker or an Obsidian that sticks around. The problem with Grizzle, and it's not a problem. I'm just saying I've done this before. I think it's interesting. I may end up running some number of Grizzle brands whether or not I'm on the Aname plan. Um, and I don't want to say something stupid like, oh, it makes it too easy, and then there's nothing to brew. Like, no, like there are plenty of Esper Goryo's decks that aren't even bothering to run Grizzle. I want you guys to understand that at least these cards work anyway. And that's something that actually came up when we were playing the Bloodghast and the Aname package even, is these cards can technically be... I'm not going to say Aname gets hardcast because we have done that. I think she's not a good example of that, whereas Obs and Jace obviously are. These are hardcastable. They get hardcast. They have that potential. Aname technically is a little bit easier to hardcast than Grizzle. That's not a reason to run her over Grizzlebrand. There are other reasons besides the fact that we can't always pay the 7. There are other reasons besides we don't always connect. There are other reasons why I might still prefer brewing around this. Not just because, oh, this has been done before. Like I'm running targets that, oh, these have all been done before. Obviously. Grave Titan. Why don't you run Neshal? So Neshal is interesting. Neshal is the new Nezi, right? I like to call it Nezi. Neshal? I think that's where they got that from. So Neshal is interesting. So Neshal is interesting because we do get to keep it, right? So this is a 7/7. But it doesn't have trample. It does have draw cards if they cast non-creature spells, which is nuts. The can't be counter doesn't really matter so much. We're probably never getting to 7 with our mana base the way it is, like baubles and yeah. But what's interesting about this is you're right. The problem is the drawback, right? If we want to keep Neshal, whereas Obsidat, I don't have to do anything additional. He just automatically, as long as he doesn't get dismembered or fatal push, I mean, he can't be fatal pushed. As long as he doesn't get like pathed, dismembered. We had one go for the throated actually earlier tonight. That was interesting. The problem with Neshal is I have to give up 3 cards. And while that's fine, there's certain matchups where that's not a big deal. It's like there's certain matchups where I can't pay 7 or I can't get in with the Grizzle, or I try to hit my burn opponent with my Grizzle and they have the skull crack. It's fine. Well, but it's not fine. Like we just lost the game. Do you see what I'm saying? Like all of these different things we've tried, this whole pile of wonderful nonsense, I've tried all of these things. And I'm not trying to say, oh, I'm the expert on this deck. Like, no, there are plenty of players out there that have put way more hours into like weird Esper Goryo's deck, I'm sure. I'm just saying, like, these are all things we've tried before. Like, things we haven't tried before are like the Spirit package. But we did try Patron and it kind of sucked. So, and I just think that's interesting. I think it's really interesting. I think there's like some real cool brewing potential for some of these elements. I probably don't want to run the Nether Trader though. It's just not as fluid, as the Bloodghasts are. Not that we couldn't run like a one-of, or like not that we couldn't run Geist. I'm just saying like these are all things I potentially thought about or tried already, or just don't really work with the deck. My last version was Thought Scour, and I was even running, that was one of the original reasons I was justifying I want to will the baubles for the sideboard mentors. All right, let me reveal something that's going to be a little bit eye-opening. I built this deck backwards. So let me show you guys this. I know I showed this last stream, but since we're in theory mode for the night, I might as well explain what I mean by I built the deck backwards. All right, so I actually just wanted to play Esper Mentor in Modern, but I don't think it's good enough, game 1 anyway. And I think it's just a little bit slow. So let me show you what I mean by I kind of built the deck backwards. These will play nicely with Mentor. Obviously, they're going to be matchup dependent, so I'll try to show you the most flexible of the cards first. Favor actually makes more sense with this, but we'll talk about that. That's a 15, so perfect. Let's put all these in. Awesome. All right. So I built the deck backwards. I just wanted to play Mentor. That's all I wanted to do. So all of these tools are kind of with Mentor in mind somewhat, and that's actually why the mana base is somewhat made of baubles. So what I really wanted to do with my life is I wanted to play Mentor in Modern, and it just wasn't viable. I tried many, many different builds. In secret, this was not streamed. I tried to make Mentor work. And I think Holy Diva or Diva, Holy Diva she's had some success with Mentor, but not in the cards I own category. Like in paper, I own Esper, an Esper mana base. I have Esper cards. That's what I have. So I've been desperately trying to make Esper Mentor work. If only we had Predict backwards. Did I try Sidisi? Is she a spirit? I thought she was a Naga. She is legendary, though. So that's cool. Yeah, she's a zombie. Put it into hand, okay. Let's see. So, yeah, I mean, like, I wanted to build the deck backwards, and I was going to run some number of Vengeances anyway, just because I was thinking about Jace and Obsidat, but I wasn't going to run, like, some of this wonderful jank. And then, like, some of the cards that are obviously sideboard cards were over here, like Needle, Disenchant. Explosives actually could technically be named. Surgical, probably not, although I really wanted to, like, try to build Cabal Therapy in Modern. It probably looks like this. This is kind of where I started, minus, like, the pieces. And I actually didn't think to play Charter Course originally, and I was so foolish to not do that. But the original build was more close to this, and minus these three cards, more or less. And actually, I hadn't really discovered that Chart was excellent for this deck at that point. So it looks something like this, and instead of the charts, it was Thought Scours. And like some number of, I was trying like Taziger and Gurmag, and I was trying to make Stubborn Denial work, and it just did not work consistently. And that's okay. So this is what the deck originally looked like, kind of like more like this. And then I built it backwards, and I was like, okay, now I want to put something really unfair, because Mentor's a little bit too fair, especially if they see it coming, if they know about it. It's just a little bit too, it's not very fair in Legacy when you have Dark Rituals and Lotus Petals and Chrome Moxen, but it is fair in Modern when your opponent is like, oh, that's what you're doing, okay. So it actually gets a lot better after board, just like it does in Legacy, where your opponent's bringing all the graveyard hate, and then I just sideboard out of the Reanimator package. I know I'm giving you away all this information before the tournament, so whatever. Somebody out there might be watching and be like, oh, so that's what he's going to do. Okay. All right. So if I run into the Esper Mentor or the Esper Goryo's guy, I need to make sure need to make sure I'm ready for his Mentors post board. Chart Course seems so much better. Yeah, Chart was just amazing. Like, the Thought Scours just were obviously obsolete. And I kept the Baubles because I wanted to stay on low land count, and I kept the Baubles because I wanted to be a Mentor deck post-board. So let's rebuild the deck.
Yeah.
So then we build it backwards, and then we build it forwards now. So the deck built forwards is something like the Disposer sideboard. The deck built forward is something like this. And I think Favor was better when I had Gurmag and I had Taziger, although Bogles is becoming very popular, especially it just won the Magic Online championship. No, you were discussing Chart versus Predict? Oh, okay. Why not play Strategic Planning? The problem with Strategic... The problem with Strategic is it isn't a card advantage engine. Yeah, so Strategic is top 3, put one into the hand, rest in the graveyard. I like Strategic maybe even more than Pieces. So what's interesting about Pieces is Pieces does what Strategic would do for us essentially, just it's more grindy. I'm not saying this is correct for the deck, it's just you have to think about the element of Pieces in that. So like when comparing the two cards, okay, so all right, obviously I'm spending an additional mana. That's huge, right? But the benefit of spending that additional mana is I get to look at 2 more cards. I potentially get 2 more. I get 1 more card, excuse me, off of Pieces than I do Planning. And Pieces already does what I want Strategic to do, which is bin graveyard targets. Because this says put the rest into your graveyard. This also says rest into graveyard, but this looks 2 cards deeper and gets me 1 more card. Although it has to specifically be an instant or sorcery, and Strategic doesn't have that drawback, right? So Strategic is better for finding Mentors, whereas Pieces can only find me the instants and sorceries in the deck, but Pieces digs deeper. So it's tough, right? It's tough. I don't know exactly. Actually, Pieces is one of the newest cards in the archetype, potentially. So I don't know if these are correct. I like Peer Through Depths because it's arcane and we can splice Vengeances onto it. Obviously, that's a lot of mana, but like so is Hardcasting Obsidat. That's the same amount of mana. Splice is for 3. splice onto arcane as you cast an arcane. So this is I'm casting an arcane spell. So as we cast the Peer Through Depths, we may splice a vengeance onto it, which is really cool. Maybe not good enough, but I think this is better than Dorotheus the other day had the idea of us playing Shoal, the Black Shoal, as a removal spell slash a way to cheaply splice. I don't hate it in theory. I think, though, it's a little cute. It might even be cuter than the Peer Through Depths. Or the pieces. I mean, like, again, I'm trying to be low to the ground, so, like, okay, on one hand, BrewSpy, you're saying you want to be kind of more low to the ground than traditional Esper Goryo, but at the same time, you're running, like, you know, like, this is a sideboard Storm card, right? Portal Art's better. Sorry, Will. My apologies. Yeah, I think it's getting closer. I mean, I'm certainly not where I want to be for the tournament, but I appreciate you guys helping me think about all the different wonderful things we could be doing with the deck. Is the Aname package good enough yet? Yes and no. It's kind of matchup dependent. I have found that the most underwhelming part about Aname is the fact that she only hits my opponent potentially for 4 damage. I will, full disclosure, that is, I think, the weakest, easily the weakest thing about the card itself, is that the reanimating itself is weak, right? The thing that makes her strong is the fact that we've gone to great lengths to swap what are normally slots like Lingering Souls for things like Bloodghast, right? We've gone to pretty great lengths to make the Aname do something, right? So that's I mean, I'm fully aware of all the pitfalls of us brewing around this card, easily. I hope you guys don't think I have any delusions that I think this deck is better than what already exists out there on the internet. I'm trying to do my own thing. I'm trying to do what I have with the cards that I own in paper. So I know I'm sponsored by Card Hoarder and we have access to pretty much any Magic card on the web, but I'm trying to work with what I own in paper. Is Lily too slow? I don't think so. If I had a Lily, I'd probably run at least the first one. I just don't have one. No, probably not Moose. Yeah, so for example, the version we're playing in the league right now, it is 1-0. That's kind of cool. Although we beat Blue-Black Control, I don't know how relevant that is. I'm sure Blue-Black Control has problems with other Bloodghast decks. We're trying our 3rd Pieces, which is definitely too much. And we're trying the 4th Brutality, which is, again, probably too much. And we only have 2 Anames. I'm only going to be able to have 2 Aname tomorrow, hopefully. I'm going to drive to the other hobby shop, pick these up, and then go to the other store to play F&M tomorrow night. As far as like what I'm picking up from the hobby store, I should be able to get everything. The only card I might not be able to get is actually Pieces. So maybe we should brew a version that's not going to have Pieces. Because I actually don't... Yeah, I may not be able to get Pieces of the puzzle before the tournament starts. Running 2 Search, I haven't played enough to say. I like Search. Again, like I feel like the issue with Peer and Pieces at all is while Peer at least has the ability to splice, I'm not going to be able to have access to Footsteps either. So I may not have access to Pieces. I have access to a 3rd Obsidian if we want to do that. I'm going to buy some number of Peer Through Depths, even though I don't think it's correct for the deck yet. I'm just probably going to run the 4th Brutality. I'm picking up a playset of charts. I'm borrowing 3 Jaces for tomorrow, actually. Yeah, I don't know if I want to just slap in the 4th Brutality. I was thinking about doing that, but now I'm not so sure. I think playing the 3rd Jace has some merit to it. I thought we had one on here. There he is. Yeah, playing the 3rd Jace is probably where we want to be, since I'm going budget. Oh crap, yeah, we're not going to have the 4th Goryos. That's right. That's like the biggest drawback to this entire... That's like the issue at all with me trying... I mean, I'm trying to play this too soon, right, before I've ordered the Goryo's Vengeance. So, and the fact that none of the stores around here had any Footsteps really sucks. So I guess if I can trade into any Goryos or buy any Footsteps, I should do that before the tournament starts. I'm only going to have access to 2 Aname. They did have a He Who Hungers and a Kuro, believe it or not. They did have Favor. Like, my whole sideboard is set up already. I borrowed, like, Pushes and Paths from my buddy. I I already owned an explosives and I already have a needle, so sideboard's not a concern. I've already built it basically. Just need to buy this card. Um, Goryo's Vengeance is very expensive right now. It is. It is. I don't have any search for Iskanta. Is that what you're talking about? You're running two search? You mean search for Iskantas? I like search for Iskanta a lot in the archetype, especially if you're more grindy, Will. I think that's absolutely the correct play. I think it's absolutely correct. If you're going to be like a more traditional Esper Goryos, I just don't have access to the card. All my buddies that have them are playing them. Like they're jamming a bunch of different grindy like blue decks. Actually, no, Jay is playing Jund actually. But anyway, just at the hobby store, I'm going to be playing this at. So yeah, we'll put the Bloodghast with the Inames, I suppose. Right, so fundamentally, what's going to be weakest is that I don't, like my buddy that was helping me build this budget version was saying I should like run heavy on ways to find the Vengeance if I'm not going to be able to find a fourth copy. And I'm not going to be able to find the Footsteps either for tomorrow. Bloodghast is super sick though. Yeah, your list is way more aggro, which I think is cool. I like Grixis Goryos and play a more control-y build. Ooh, Grixis Goryos with like Kiki Chiki combo? That's cool. Well, thanks, I want to Will. Yeah, I don't think it's better. I never said that. I hope anybody joining the stream now doesn't think I ever said this is better than any other different take on the Esper archetype of Goryos. I think it's cool. I've certainly won some games with it. I certainly want to play against like elves or young pyromancer or lingering souls and kill all their stuff with Pitlord. That'll be super cool. I never said that was good because that, I mean, like that's the issue with the Obsidats and the, okay, no, that's not an issue with these. These already work in the archetype. The issue with adding any more additional tutorable targets for Iname that don't bring themselves back, right? So like if they're not like Sakai, or if they're not like what's another good example besides potentially Sakai? Sakai would be a very different build. It would have to run more than just Lingering Souls. But what's another card we tried? Oh, Nether Trader. Anything that's not like Trader or Sakai or Akuma. I actually didn't show you guys Akuma. Let me show you guys that card. It's actually kind of cool. It's bad, but it's cool. Actually, with the Charter Courses, I technically could have more cards than my opponent. But let me show you Akura. Akura. Is it Akura or Akuma? No, more of just using Grizzle as a draw spell. Oh, that's cool. Is it Akuma? Oh god, what is the name? Akura. I can't remember how to spell his name, but he's the legendary. He's like a legendary Bloodghast. Why don't you just play Hirobi? Play some Hirobis. We were gonna play Kuru. You want to play some Whispers? Yeah, that's a cool combo. Yeah, Hirobi plus Pitlord. It's neat. It's cool. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I don't know if I'd play it. This is an interesting effect. This turns our brutalities into kill anything bigger than it would normally kill. That's actually kind of cool. I don't know if I'd run it. I'll put it in the think tank. Thought you meant Whisper. That's funny. That's always fun to splice that. The thing about this card is the splice on this is actually what's most powerful about Whisper. The problem is I would need 4 cards to exile and keep exiling, and there's cool things about that card. It certainly had limited playable potential, not constructed probably. What was the other card I was trying to show you guys? Is it Akura? Akuma. God, what is it called? All right, let me try to remember what it says. If you have more cards than opponent, haste, legendary. Let's see if that brings him up. It's most everything I can remember about the card. There we go. Akuta. Yeah. So we tried like stuff like, we thought about things like Trader and Sekai and Akuta. The problem with Sekai is it's a 2-card combo. It's actually a 3-card combo. So I need a Lingering Souls, and I have to resolve both halves of the Lingering Souls, and I had to sacrifice all the Bloodghast to the Sakai. Like, so this just didn't work. Nether Trader's okay as like a 1 or 2 of. This is whenever another creature you control is put in a graveyard from the battlefield, you may pay black. If you do, return Nether Trader. Haste 1/1 Shadow. Probably not though. But maybe. Hirobi, of course, is interesting with things like Pit Lord or things like Brutality in the main board. That's interesting. I don't know if that's what I want. Certainly hardcastable, potentially. Like it's a cool synergy. Like maybe you're supposed to run it if I try the Kuro at all. Akuda, though, says haste for 3-2 at the beginning of your upkeep. If you have more cards in hand than each opponent, which we probably won't because I'm like brutalitying my cards away. Just saying. You may sacrifice a swamp. So also that really sucks. I have to give up a land. I don't have many in this build. So we thought about testing things like Akuda, Sekai, Trader, Hirobi. These are all things, well, not Hirobi necessarily, but like Trader, Akuda, and Sekai are all things that can maybe bring themselves back without me having to draw another Vengeance, which I'm going to be short on at least for tomorrow. Yeah, but Thought Scours can let you turn to the Goryos if it's on top. Yes. If it's on top. Why don't you just play Scarab God? Is he a spirit? I thought he was a zombie. Not that Scarab God isn't sweet, Frody. I've seen some blue-black, like big mana blue-black playing Scarab God. I don't think we're that deck. Like I hate saying that. Like one of the reasons why I like Obsidat in this deck is the fact that it can be hardcast. I don't like saying that about like Aname or Obsidat because I'm running 19 land. Like I shouldn't be drawing that many lands. If we do, well, crap. Like I guess if we flood out, like we could start hardcasting these guys. So we're gonna hit the Gather and we're gonna do a little bit of. We're gonna go on a field trip, guys, because I still think we haven't found. I still think we haven't found what the deck is trying to do. I talked about this with my buddy Tyler, and like, yeah, Pit Lord like clears the way for the Bloodghast, but I still need another reanimate spell. Or I need a flipped Jace and I need to flash this back. Like, He Who Hungers has the same issue. It lets us turn our Bloodghast into basically some sort of bad Cabal therapy effect, but I still need another reanimate spell. Like, that's the issue, is we haven't found anything out of this category that Aname searches and sets up. Like, even Obsidat falls into that category. It's just he's also playable otherwise. He works naturally in the deck, whereas it's okay if Aname tutors Obsidat. We're happy to do that, actually. Actually, I think that's her best function in the deck already, is that she tutors extra copies of herself, and then she also grabs the ghasts and sets up the Obsidat for subsequent reanimating. I think that's the best thing she already does in the deck. Does she need to do a third thing? I don't even think she needs to do a third thing, to be honest. Now that I've been playing the deck for over a week now. But let's go on a field trip. Let's see. Can I sort this by CMC? Guess it doesn't matter. Okay. So, modern playable, legendary spirit. Okay. This is not nearly all of the legendary spirits, is it? This shouldn't be. Why don't you just play Ship of Erebos? Like, Unspeakable is something else we talked about. Unspeakable could work. So the cool thing about the Unspeakable is that he would return Goryo's Vengeances, or later when I get my hands on them, Footsteps. He says, well, the problem is he has to connect, so he's even worse than Grizzlebrand, because Grizzlebrand at least could draw 7 in certain matchups and doesn't have to necessarily hit the opponent, like if they have the Path or the Terminate, what have you. Whenever the Unspeakable deals combat damage to a player, you may return target arcane card from your graveyard to your hand. So while this is tutorable in the Aname package that we're trying to play test, the problem is where's the power level, right? So I'm dealing 6 damage in the air that has trample. Okay, that's fine. That's not horrible. That might be better than some of these other pieces, because at least I get the Goryo's Vengeance back, and I can maybe reanimate something else. Like Kataki was something I talked about on our sideboard, because the effect of He Who Hungers I'm not using is the Soul Shift. This guy has Soul Shift 4. When this creature dies, you may return target spirit card with converted mana cost 4 or less. If I don't run Geist or like a Kataki out of the sideboard, I'm not actually returning anything when I use He Who Hungers. So, like, one of the reasons why I liked including maybe a Geist in the 75 is because I was running some amount of Soul Shift. I'm sad that I'm missing out on this. Kage Maru is another card we talked about. She says her power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in hand. That's the same reason why Akuda's bad, because I may not always have more cards or enough cards to make her good. But she says, black, sacrifice her. All creatures get -X until end of turn, where X is the number of cards in my hand. So she's kind of like a sweeper. I think that Kuro is arguably better because he gets in for 9 and clears a path for our Bloodghasts to end the game. Whereas, although Kagemaru, yeah, it's Kagemaru, isn't it? That's how they would pronounce that. The cool thing about Kagemaru, first to suffer, is she can kill things that we couldn't even normally target. But the problem is I have to have a bunch of cards still in my hand. So while we thought that this might be an option for us, it's still kind of wonky. But Geist is interesting. So it's cool if I include Geist in our deck, even in the main board. If I use He Who Hungers, like let's say we go Aname into grab the gas, grab all the spirits, and then I Goryo's He Who Hungers, tear my opponent's hand apart, I get the Geist at the end of that. So I actually really like the idea of a singleton Geist. It's not even that bad because I can Vengeance it and it's 6 damage that's kind of hard to deal with. They might be able to deal with the Geist, but we're losing it anyway because of how Goryo's Vengeance works. But can they deal with the Angel? Like, this could get the last few points of damage in. Maro, like Mark Rosewater, you got the Kage part right? Kage Maro. Oh, it's Kage Maro? Okay. Brago's not modern legal, though. Yeah, so like I like Geist if we're going to continue to play He Who Hungers. That is something I thought about, like having some CMC 4 or less that we get back. I mean, that's another reason to run, what is he, Hirobi? Like, Hirobi is something that I would get back if I He Who Hungers, because this is a CMC 4 spirit. And He Who Hungers says, Soul Shift 4, when this creature dies, you may return target spirit CMC 4 or less from your graveyard to hand. So I like maybe adding some number of quote-unquote playable spirits to the deck's toolbox, because if I go for He Who Hungers, the problem with him, the reason he was much weaker than Kuro, is that Kuro probably ends the game in a lot of different matchups, whereas He Who Hungers just buys us time. This doesn't actually end the game, it's just I get to rip their hand apart. It'd be really nice if this also let us rip their hand apart and I get something back. Perfect, you pass. Thank you. So I actually really like the idea of something like Geist, Kataki, maybe even the Hirobi somebody suggested, just because it would give us a little bit of value on the He Who Hungers. And I know you're like, well, BrewSpy, why does that matter? It's like, no, like this deck needs to squeeze every amount of value it possibly could. Kira is also something that could be returned off of the of the He Who Hunger. I mean, like, there's a lot of different spirits that are technically modern playable that we could get back off of the Soul Shift effect. And then we don't feel so bad for, okay, so sure, we spent, you know, a Jace activation or an extra Vengeance returning He and like took 2 or 3 cards from my opponent's hand. But the real kicker would be, oh, but at the end of that interaction, I got back Geist. Or at the end of that interaction, I got back Kira, Hirobi, Kataki. Like, then it actually starts to be playable. I feel like Kuro might actually be where the deck wants to be, like Aname into the Bloodghasts, into Reanimate Kuro, kill them. The problem with Aname Reanimation into get all our Bloodghasts back into He Who Hungers is, well, the game's not over. We have to return all these Bloodghasts still that we used for his ability. He maybe got to swing for 3 in the air. That's not enough to kill an opponent. This is 9. This is 3. Do you see what I'm saying, Doro? Does it make sense? Like, we're really, I think we're really close, at least as far as where this deck could go. That says opponent's graveyard, unfortunately. This is interesting, though, if we go into Pack Rats. Interesting. Somebody suggested going into Pack Rats. This is modern legal because I have the modern filter on. Interesting. Huh. We could discount this with something like Pack Rat. I'm going to put that in the think tank. That actually seems more reasonable than the Sekai. The problem is this is from your hand, not from the graveyard, which is actually more awkward for us than you might think. Anyway. What are some other spirits? And notice I'm not limiting us to the color pie. Like, I am looking into other spirits, even if they're outside of our color pie, just because it doesn't matter too much whether or not they're in the color pie. We really should eventually be on more than 2 Aname. Did I see the leaks? Yeah, I did. Yeah, we could also just play a whole deck of blue-white spirits. Doro, are you talking about your... Yeah, the problem with the Name life aspect, and this is like, you're like, oh, okay, well, BrewSpy, isn't this the obvious combo that you'd be trying to do? Shouldn't you try to Aname into Aname? The problem has to do with the fact that we don't have a way to kill off this one. We'll talk about this one. That's something I should have been discussing with you guys. Shire is interesting. Oh, it's power 1, never mind. Yes, we'll talk about Sekai briefly. Azami's Familiar is interesting. I just don't think that's powerful enough. This is if you would draw a card, look at the top three, take one of those instead. So if we got to have a turn or two with Tomorrow in play, there's a lot that I could do. I could get a lot of like specific card synergy in the fact that we have like things like Charter Course. Like if we during my opponent's end step, Goryo's the Tomorrow. During my draw for the turn, we would get to look at the top three, and then if I played any draw spells after that, they would be look at the top three instead of just. This is interesting to talk about. I don't think I would play it, but. What was another one I thought about? I mean, there's a lot of different legendary spirits that are interesting to talk about that probably wouldn't be. I mean, even he and Kuro, sorry, are stretching, absolutely stretching the mark here. I mean, like Kokoshu has the same issue as that other card I just was talking about, in that we don't have a way to kill it. Like if we could find a way to kill it, it's perfect. But the problem is our build around is Vengeance. Footsteps kills the creature, but Vengeance doesn't. Vengeance exiles. We'd have to find a sacrifice outlet, and then you're like a 4-card combo. You're not just a 2-card combo into a 3-card combo. You're like a 2-card combo into a 3-card combo into a 4-card combo. They made Relentless Ras 2.0. Oh, gross! Really? Uh-oh. Hikari is interesting, but you're still just better off with Obsidat. This one I have to cast a Spirit or Arcane spell to keep it, so Obsidat's still just superior. And that's fine. Like here's the thing. Here's the thing. I know some of you are like, BrewSpy, come on. Like, aren't you happy with this package already? Like this 9 or so? Aren't you happy? Like, aren't you happy with what the deck's doing already? Right? I wish somebody in chat would have said that already. Like, BrewSpy, come on. Like, aren't you happy with what the deck does already? Like, yeah, I am. I'm just curious if the deck can do something else. Like we tried Patron and we killed some people with it and it was sweet, but it was really linear and easier to disrupt. Whereas at least Kuro would wipe their whole board in certain matchups. I mean, I'm not saying it's at no cost. Like that's a lot of life points, and that's why somebody suggested, what was it? Hirobi. I'm still losing a lot of life points whether or not there's a Hirobi on the table. I guess it's just a matter of, does Kuro have to kill a Tarmogoyf, or does Kuro have to kill a bunch of Lingering Souls tokens, right? So that's the thing. There's a lot of variance in even thinking about this card. Like, how big are the creatures I'm killing? Are they Thought-Knot Seer sized, or are they Young Pyromancer sized, right? How wide is the board? How, like, there's lots of different things that we have to think about. Like, okay, how much mana do I have? Because He Who Hungers, I already spent 2 mana vengeancing, and our deck is only 19 lands. So like, okay, how much mana do we have to work with? Because this ability costs mana. Like if I use the other reanimate spell, which is 3 mana, I only get to activate this once or twice, right? So is a Tutorable Cabal Therapy that costs 3 to 4 mana worth having? Especially if it doesn't like return us something, Like if it doesn't get us back a Geist or like Akira or any of these tools, like that's really bad. So like, Am I upset with this 12, right? No, I think it's fine. I was curious if we could do something else with the archetype. I think Aname into set up the Bloodghasts and the Obsidats is perfectly reasonable. And then we get back Obsidat. And that's the plan. Always. That's always the plan, is to go, the flow chart would be discard spell into reanimate spell into Aname trigger into play land drop to get all the Bloodghast back, into another reanimate spell to get Obsidat back. And that's fine. What about Anafenza? Yeah, Anafenza is interesting.
All right.
Yeah, Anafenza is interesting. Yes, I have some, actually. Yeah, Anafenza is interesting. With the Bloodghasts, this is actually really interesting, isn't it? Because she would, if these all died and I brought them all back. Actually, that's kind of cool. I actually like that better. Okay, so you're saying, ooh, that's actually really interesting. Hold up. So hold up. Let's move this over. Dorotheus, you just found potentially a really interesting synergy. So if we ran a 1 of Anafenza to supplement our 1 of He Who Hungers, hear me out. We have a playset of Bloodghast. He Who Hungers actually kills off some of our Bloodghasts. The Anafenza returns to our hand. We play Anafenza, then we play land drop. I think the white is really hard on our mana, but we'll get to that. So all the Bloodghasts that come back bolster. He Who Hungers, you already have it, yeah. But you're thinking, yeah, you figured it out. That's actually really, really cool. And maybe that's a little bit better than our deck has already probably torn their hand apart, right? Like that's what our deck is designed to do. So I don't think we necessarily need to have threats like Geist and like Kira. It might be better to do something stronger. And then that turns the into also pseudo going down a similar path as Kuro. It just does it one turn later, right? The sequence would be one turn more, but it would still let us He Who Hungers grab that last combo piece or so out of their hand. Okay, so the sequencing for Anafenza He Who Hungers would be okay. So filter or draw spell into put Aname into the graveyard, into reanimate Aname, into land to get all the ghasts back, and during that turn, this is like magical Christmas land we're talking about, but it's a possible line if I buy into more reanimate spells that this deck could do, and then we get the He Who Hungers, we tear their hand apart. He Who Hungers Soul Shift triggers, returns the Anafenza. Now we untap, and whatever blood ghasts died during the He Who Hungers sacrificing. I mean, this is still like turn 4. I'm talking about turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4. Like, this is still, why don't you play Sovereigns? Yeah, Sovereign is a spirit. Sovereigns and Sovereign's Conscription. Run like a 1 of Eldrazi Conscription. Doesn't have to be in my hand, though. We're trying to operate exclusively from the tuturables and exclusively from the reanimate cards. And I think that's the conclusion, Dorotheus, we came to, right? So let me talk about why we went away from like Sakai and some of these other cards, and why I actually really like this idea. So the problem with all of these pieces is not all, but most of these pieces need another element that is not just another reanimate spell. Let me repeat that. So the reason that all of these elements didn't really make the cut, although I really wanted Sekai to work, the reason that all of these elements didn't really work is they either need a sacrifice engine or they need something to die, so that would also count for Traitor. They need us to have more cards than the opponent. They need us to do it during my opponent's end step specifically, and then this only really nets us cards if I have other draw spells. This just hits for 6. And that's fine. Like, hitting for 6 is fine, but like Kuro does that already. But Kuro hits for 9 and clears out a board state of like elves that's about to kill us, or young pyromancer boards really efficiently, or if we have enough life points to toy around with, it kills like Dark Confidants, or maybe like 1 Tarmogoyf if we could kill. Anyway, Geist, totally reasonable. We could still play Geist. We're going to talk about him more. Kira, same category as Geist. I actually really like the idea of the Anafenza more, in theory. Anyway, Hirobi, this is just support for this. Not that it's a bad idea. Like, I think all of these are reasonable things to talk about, actually, still. Kage Maro, probably not. It's kind of doing what Kuro's doing in a worse way. It's kind of the same knock to some of these other pieces. Scarab God's not a spirit, so we're trying to build around spirits. Not that he's a bad reanimate target. Well, it takes a lot of mana to actually... And it says when dies, so this would only work on the other spell, and then I still have to hardcast him. I don't think he's right for this deck. We're not... Yeah. Patron, if we did some sort of like Relentless Rats or somebody suggested Pack Rat build. Patron we already tried. It just didn't work because my opponent might have blockers, and that's why I want to try Pit Lord in that spot. Sekai didn't work because I already have to have resolved a Lingering Souls, and none of the souls have been removed. None of the blood gas have been removed, so this guy just took too much work. The problem with all of these elements is they need something else in addition. And Anafenza only would work in reference to He Who Hungers, or like this Anafenza spot could be a Geist, or could be Akira, or Hirobi, or Kitaki, whatever. It just needs to be 4 less mana if we want to do that, if we want the He Who Hungers to actually get us back a card. Which is fine, we're a grindy deck. Like, I'm not trying to say, like, we're not all in combo. Like, we do have to grind at some point. The deck is a deck that sideboards into mentors. Like, I have to grind some matchups out. We can't always just burst people with ghasts and then follow up with Pit Lord and they're dead. That's just not how Modern works, Wait, does Kira stop Goryos? No. It doesn't. Conscription gets pulled. Okay, so you were talking about the Esper one, the Esper, yeah, Sovereigns. Sovereigns is interesting. Yeah, so Sovereigns to go grab stuff. Yeah, Sovereigns is interesting. That would kind of be like a Zur, the Enchanter build. That's not horrific. It's interesting. The problem with Sovereigns is it's not legendary. That's okay. That's not necessarily a requirement, although it helps. Like, because even Geist is saying Traff. Not that I probably wouldn't Goryo's Vengeance and Offenza, but I would certainly Geist. That's the thing. That's why I think Geist stands out of this pile for that reason, guys. Is that Geist is and white's hard on our mana Dorth. Like the thing about Geist as the thing that we get back with He Who Hungers is A, it's a really powerful card on its own. B, it's something that I wouldn't mind Goryozing to get the last few points of damage in to win the game. So, although I think Anafenza is the better combo card because it synergizes with the Bloodghast plan and Geist does not. So I would want to test Anafenza first because it's the better synergy card. Too bad all the Hirobi tech is legacy only, yeah. We could run Gut Shot, right? Run a bunch of Gut Shots. There you go. All right. Yeah, so the thing about Anafenza is that it... or I guess you could run like Slaughter Pact with Hirobi. It's interesting. Slaughter Pacts. Because the Slaughter Pact wouldn't resolve. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, Slaughter Pact wouldn't resolve because the creature died. Yeah, this no longer had a legal target. So that's an interesting combo. That's technically both modern legal cards. You'd probably still rather be into Calidus first. So this is really interesting, and this is like not too much mana, right? We probably don't want what He Who Hungers to actually get back a 4. We probably want it to be 3 or less mana, just because of how, like you'll notice that our deck stops at 3 on purpose, with the exception of Hardcast, maybe Obsidat, maybe Iname. The deck stops at 2 to 3 mana. So the exceptions are like the Mentors, and then the other Reanimate spell, and maybe something like a Geist or something like Anafenza. Anafenza is the one that makes sense to me from a combo perspective, right? If we want like all the ghasts to just get crazy big, that's really cool synergy. I think I'd rather test the Anafenza first before I just test a Geist, and maybe Geist could even have a home in the sideboard. Yeah. I mean, I like this in theory. I think that card for card, I think the Geist stands better on its own, whereas Anafenza is the better card if we've already done the combo, which technically we have, right? If we're testing this in theory, this is, you know, can you show the deck a little? I'm too tired, Scott. I'm exhausted at this point. I think I would play very poorly. I can let you know that the deck did well so far. We played against... actually, Jabberwocky's one of the better blue-black control players I've seen. He gets a relatively good amount of 4-1s and 5-0s, so I don't think that's irrelevant testing, us managing to beat Jabberwocky on... And he switched these Jaces into Mind Sculptors. I don't think that that's... We won game 1, lost game 2 when I switched over to Mentor mode, and then we won game 3 by going back to the combo. We beat him down with... Bloodghast and Obsidat. Different decks though. Yeah, so like I mean, is this last card slot supposed to maybe be? All right, hold up. So what if we do this? Cut all these. Cut all these. That's a 59. Cut all these. Yeah, so like is the last deck slot? I mean, that's where I really love the Kataki. By the way, if we're gonna run He Who Hungers, I really like a Kataki a lot. I think that's so cool. I know you're like, well, BrewSpy, like, how is that ever going to come up? The answer is probably not. The answer is probably not, but I love a Kataki. I love the idea of a Kataki in their 75. If I'm going to, I don't have one in paper. We can certainly test it on Moto. But yeah, like He Who Hungers in reference to cards like Anafenza, Kataki, Geist, Kira, these are all really cool ideas. You could even go deeper, like run Eidolon, you know, if you wanted to. I don't really have a card for Storm, really. Just try to tear their hand apart. Lower end synergy Anafenza also triggers with Obsidat. Yes, she does. Yes. So every time that we blink and return the Obsidat, Anafenza... I mean, Anafenza triggers even if I play Jace. It's just a matter of the fact that arguably card for card. So Anafen's is the better synergy card. She's harder on the mana base though than Geist is. Geist is just arguably the stronger card. Kataki is the better sideboard card though. No offense to Geist. I think in a vacuum, Kataki is the card. In a vacuum, I mean that's a 60. Do we want both options? That's interesting. Do we want He Who Hungers to have the ability to tutor into something that ends the game the next turn, or in the event of my opponent is a mono removal deck, has the ability to tutor into something that they can't interact with? That's interesting. How does that curve? Hold up. Dorotheus, you might be onto something, my friend. Hold up, hold up. I love testing some of the things you guys come up with. Like, you guys are definitely a resource for me to utilize. I appreciate you guys for that. Not that you're cattle. That's not what I'm saying. You're not cattle. What about that configuration? And then that gives He Who Hungers 2 different options in the main board, and then gives it a sideboard bullet. And we could go even deeper, and you even run like an Eidolon. And I know people are going to be like, well, wait a minute, BrewSpy. Okay, hold up. So you're telling me, well, Kataki actually has, so the fact, like Eidolon, the problem with Eidolon is it doesn't have the added effect that Kataki does. If Kataki gets taken, let's say Kataki gets Galvanic Blasted, or Kataki gets, I'm talking in reference to Affinity, also maybe Lantern Control. If they take the Kataki, or they kill the Kataki, not exile, but just kill it otherwise, and I have the ability to Vengeance it during their... If I Goryo's Vengeance Kataki War's Wage during my end step, it will be on the table during our opponent's upkeep, and his effect will go into place. It will help. It'll happen. Does it make sense? So that's actually why I like Kataki over maybe Eidolon of Rhetoric, as another card to talk about. Another card to theorize. I mean, there's certainly something I could cut. This sideboard's not set in stone to include both Kataki and Eidolon and test both. So that would give us all... That would probably be the 4 top options I would maybe want for He Who Hungers, right? Dorotheus is a synergy card, because that's what Name is a synergy card. A synergy card, a hard to interact with card, and then out of the board, a card that deals with things like Lantern, things like... eggs, affinity, and then a card that can deal with opposing Snapcaster mages, a card that can deal with... I'm not a Snapcaster mage deck, so this is not a drawback necessarily. It does awkwardly work with my mentors, but we'll get to that. Rhetoric is also useful against Storm, so... That's interesting to talk about. Like, these are other reasonable spirits I wouldn't mind having in the 75. Right? So, I mean, this is us going for synergy. Those arguably happen, hopefully, around the same time. So as far as how the deck curves, it'd be more like this. I think the biggest knock to Anafenza is that she is white-white. But I already have some white-white cards in the deck. Obsidat is, so... Well, what do you think, Doro? What are your thoughts? Do you think we could test this? Well, hang on, let me open another copy. Hold up. So I think the version I would want to test for you guys would involve more copies of Goryo's, 100% for sure. I think I would actually cut a Jace. I'm probably only going to have access to 2 Jaces for Baltimore. Just so you guys know, I probably am only going to be able to get my hands on 2 copies of that card. Unless something changes or I can borrow. I'm probably only going to be able to purchase 2 Jaces. And that's fine. We know what our budget is. We just came into a bunch of cash for the stream. It's just that's for the new streaming computer. Not necessarily for buying a janky modern deck for me to play at a Star City event. Probably won't run the playset of Brutality. I'll probably only run 3 at most. I don't know about the Geist. All right, anyway. So that gives us room. I kind of want to be on 3 Aname, 2 Obsidat. 1 Kuro, 1 He. The sideboard could change. I'm more interested in the pushes than the... I like the Dispels. They've been playing a lot better than what I was playing. Slaughter Pack, no. Surgicals, yeah, they play nicely with Mentor. It can kind of give you that therapy effect sometimes. I kind of definitely want the playset of Mentor because that's kind of, well, if we have more threats like Anafenza or Geist, I don't necessarily need the playset anymore. It's not like this is Legacy or Vintage, so I don't necessarily need the playset of Mentor anymore. It might be more important just to have the removal spots or the sideboard pieces. Favor could be what's cut. I like that this has applications against. Why don't you play the black-white filter land like a one-of? Yeah, I mean, like that would let us hard cast our Obsidat more easily. It would let us. Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about the 20th land for a long time, Dorotheus. No joke. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe I cut the second push. We're on a split here. And then maybe I do. If we are going to run all of these other bullet targets, I will cut the Mentor. I'm okay cutting a Mentor, especially when we have Geist in the 75. So they fulfill a similar role of they're a hard to interact with threat for mid-range and control. That's, so I'm okay with cutting one Mentor if we're going to add a Geist to the 75. They can fulfill a similar role, not the same role. Yeah, so like another land, yeah, like a filter land or just another white source would probably be fine. We've talked a long time about even adding like a dredge land. For the Bloodghast, I don't think I want to go that deep. We haven't needed it yet. It's not like we're dredging, so... Pier might even get cut. It's a little bit weak. I'd almost rather just have the reanimate spell than have to dig for it, to be honest, even though there's the potential to splice. I think for the most part, Chart of Course, Brutality, and Jace have been doing what the deck needs to do. And I'd rather just run another reanimate spell than necessarily more ways to find Vengeance. I'd almost rather just run the first Footsteps and just have it more often. Does it make sense? Not that I'm not going to continue trying some of these draw spells. I'm just saying I'd rather just have the Footsteps. So kind of curve a little awkward. Yeah, I mean, the white-blue filter would play Obsidat, Anafenza, and Bloodghast all much, much better on our mana base. So, not sold. What about Essence Flux? Essence Flux is the Blink Spirit card, right? It's like the blue. Yeah, Flux is interesting. Flux is like what is that card? This is that's kind of a fun of. Yeah, so this is what's the equivalent? This is like it's kind of like Cloud Shift. This list would rather have Dark Blast. Yeah, Dark Blast for sure. Yeah, like all these cards like Flux and Dark Blast and even the Black Shoal could be talked about, Doro. I'm not saying we won't run them eventually. I don't know if I want to run them yet. Blast, Flux, Shoal, like all of these cards could certainly make it into the deck list. I'm not convinced I want them yet. I'm still testing the place at a chart. I'm still figuring out how many Jaces, how many Obsidats, how many Aname. I'm still figuring out how many Brutality. I'm still figuring out how many Inquisition and Thoughtseize, how many Baubles. So there's still lots of other things that need to be figured out. Or like, are you even going to run some cards like this before we probably run this stuff? I like this though. Yeah, this is like, if you guys remember Cloud Shift, this is Cloud Shift for upside in our deck. It's just really cool. It's just arguably a better Cloud Shift. And the fact that we have spirits gives it a counter. So yeah, that's really cool. I'll keep these cards in mind, Doro. Absolutely. So do we want to go ahead and add the 20th land finally? We've sometimes bricked on land. So yeah, the filter land would make the mana smoother, for sure. Is there any other card, Doro, that you see it makes the mana smoother for? I'm not going to count hardcasting Aname, but Obsidat definitely has been awkward on more than one occasion to hardcast. Anafenza will be. We know that is going to happen without some number of filter. And the Bloodghasts are sometimes awkward to hardcast on our mana base. I don't hate the idea of the black-white filter. What is the name of that card? Oh my goodness. Feated. I think it's Feated. Oh, that's not how you spell that. I think I have one, don't I? No, I don't. Fetid Heath. I don't have one. I will try to get us one before next show. And I'll try to get us all the other missing cards, like an Eidolon, etc. Yeah, Fetid Heath. Yeah, Fetid Heath would make the mana a lot happier for 7 cards. I mean, that's a lot of cards, right? And I've talked about the 20th land being added to this for a while now, especially since I cut some of the Thought Scours. There are plenty of games where we're fighting for the second or third land drop. Is it Fetid Heath? Yeah, it's Fetid Heath. So I think that Fetid Heath plays really nicely in the deck. The only card it doesn't synergize with is the Island. It is literally the only card that it doesn't work with in our mana base. Is the single island. So this filters all our wateries into into white. This lets me cast Anafenza off of any of my wateries or dark slicks or the Shizo, the basic swamp. I mean, yeah, if we're gonna run Anafenza, we have to test her alongside a card like that, perhaps. I feel like it's just you and me, Dorotheus. I feel like everybody else went to bed, and that's fine. I did go theory mode. We were jamming games at first, but I got too tired, and I appreciate you guys. I'm probably going to go eat something and fall asleep. I'm going to go ahead and host. I'm assuming you guys are all asleep, or maybe you guys are just my lurkers. I need to thank my lurkers again. Without you guys, the stream wouldn't exist. So I want to go ahead and plug you guys for a moment. But yeah, I'll try to maybe get this version to do the next league with just lurking, just woke up. The only card I'm really not a fan of is Bauble. I get it, something feels off. I like Bauble though. We have a lot of fetches. Playing Guild Wars 2. Oh, you're fine, Davin. Jaggernaughty, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Bruce by the Magic Guy show. I also missed you earlier. Strix Familiar, I think I missed you earlier. Strix, if you're still out there, thanks for hitting that button. Welcome to the show. Usually have you up in the background. I appreciate it. You demand? Oh no, I was just saying, like, if you guys want me to go offline, like, I can. All right. We're gonna try another experiment. It didn't work the last time I tried. I need you guys to type. What is it? What's the one that I have set up for anybody, even if they're not a sub? That one. I need everybody to type capital B, capital T, BREWTIE in the chat. If I see the whole chat filled up with BrewSpy bow ties, I might be willing to play another round of the deck. I don't promise it's going to go well. You'd love to see a game? Yeah, I don't promise that it's going to go well. I would say it's probably not going to go well because I'm tired, but we'll see if the deck plays itself. Got off work and you were in theory mode. All right, I see 3, 4, 5, 6. Capital B, capital T, Brutai. Oh man! All right, guys. All right. I'll do it for the stream. For the stream, we'll play another round. I don't know if this is gonna go well, but let's do it. And we get to see if the pieces is just a bad idea. Or the peer, or not purchasing a 4th Vengeance for the deck that obviously wants it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for all the support. It was just an experiment. Hey, I'm all about experimenting. It was just an experiment. I was curious if there are people out there that would type. Yeah, we're doing it for the stream. I'll play one more. Like I said, I don't promise it's going to go well. And it's not the deck's fault. It's going to be my fault. It's not necessarily the deck's fault. I think the deck is definitely every version getting closer. I don't know if I'm going to get it to where it needs to be before the tournament, but I feel like the deck looks closer every version, to me anyway. I feel like 20th land is actually a step in the right direction, for sure. All right, we're playing against a 2-1. He must be on a good deck. Good luck, have fun. All right, let's do it. If it goes poorly, I'm willing to accept the blame. All right, we keep this, though, right? This is sweet. It just needs reanimate card, and it has a chart, so we can draw to it, maybe. This hand seems excellent. Like, I can thought seize my opponent. I don't have to thought seize myself. Are you kidding me? It's got all the colors, and we're only running 19 land. Let's do it. Let's not show him the Shizu. Nah, too much information. Turn 1, thought seize my opponent. Oh, please mulligan. Thought seize is so good against mulligans. Hand hate is so good. Like people have argued that like hand hate's like kind of like the force of like Thoughtseize is like the force of will of modern, right? That's the glue of the format, right? Thoughtseize. Oh, he mulliganed. Oh, he mulliganed. Brutal. Brutal. Okay, he keeps and he bottoms. Oh, okay. Do we get to keep a cantrip then? What you got? Oh, it's humans. Oh, this matchup actually is horrific, right? So I can't take him off of his mana acceleration. It's very tempting. It's very tempting to take Pilgrim or Hierarch and then kill the... Oh, man. I mean, that gets so punished because my opponent could keep Thalia. It's very tempting to take Hierarch, and then kill Pilgrim with Brutality. And then if my opponent doesn't draw a second land, they're stuck for a while. Hand hate is what defines modern. I think so, too. I think hand hate... And that's why they're Bogle's decks that run mainboard ley lines running around killing people. Because hand hate does kind of define what modern's doing. What do you guys think? I think I'm going to take the Noble Hierarch. I think Thoughtseize is more like the days of modern. I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. I kind of like going greedy here because he bottomed. He doesn't know. He doesn't know if he has another land on top. They have 2 land. They have true draws for land. Seems greedy to take Dork. Hierarch seems good. Yeah, it is greedy, Dizzy Drone. So Dizzy thinks I should still just take the Thalia. You're probably right. Or maybe even Lieutenant. You're probably right. I'm going to be greedy, though. Oh, that's so greedy what I just did. Oh, no. You would take Thalia? Oh, that was so greedy. He played the Confluence, not a different land. If he drew a different land, he would have played something else. He would not have played the Confluence if he drew a different land. God, that's so greedy what I just did, stream. Can you believe me? Can you believe it? Do you believe it? Kill and drain. Actually, he won't have a spell. I want to pitch the opposite of that. Kill and drain. Oh, that was so greedy, but isn't Thalia an issue for us? Yeah. He does have 2 draws to draw the land, and he did, so... I told you guys it was greedy. I promised you I wouldn't play, necessarily well. Super greed. Oh, such greed, but we were so rewarded for it. Isn't that dirty? We don't deserve this at all, by the way, stream. I actually don't need white mana on the main board, by the way. That comes up all the time. We actually don't need the white mana till post board, so it's kind of a cool... Well, okay, with the exception of maybe we're going to start trying actual white cards in the main, but... So greedy, but were we punished? So greedy. And I have the Shizu. Oh, we have the Shizo too. Put you to 7. Oh my goodness. It's so greedy, but we might win anyway. Play well, get rewarded. I only have 3 Goryos in this version too. I only have 3 in this version because I was trying to mirror what I'm going to play for tomorrow's F&M. Like, we're so rewarded. We're so greedy, stream. Oh, he concedes. We beat humans game 1. Isn't this supposed to be like a horrific matchup for my deck? Normally it is, isn't it? Well, maybe not. Oh, that was so greedy. All right, what do they have for graveyard hate these days? Anybody know? Should we do some research? Humans plays for their graveyard hate. Probably relics. They play... Oh, crap. They play Grafdigger's Cage. Okay. Staticaster, but he won't know to bring it in. Cool, he doesn't know about the Bloodghast. Yes. He's going to bring in 2 cages, and that's probably all that changes. Maybe Fiend Hunter. I could see... Well, Fiend Hunter has to be viled to stop my Obsidat. Like, all of these things, all of these elements do. All right. All right. So, I mean, not that that's my exact opponent's list. I'm just saying it's always nice when your opponent's on a known deck, because you can kind of reference that stuff. I prefer Kuro to He Who Hungers. I like Favor, kind of. I'm gonna have Pro most likely. We'll be the ones with protection. But maybe that's wrong. We definitely want our removal spells. Definitely want explosives. Do I want to fight over his graveyard hate? We don't have time to just pieces. It's not a grind. It's just not. I don't have time to sit... I don't even have time really to sit back on Jace, to be honest. Jace is slow for this matchup too. Maybe cut some number of Jace. He's going to bring in Sin Collectors? Okay. How many Sin do they have? 2? 2 Sin Collector? 3. Holy... Wow. Okay, holy cow. That's a lot. I like disenchant. Worst case scenario, I hit an Aether Vial. Best case scenario, I hit the... Oh, best case scenario is he doesn't draw the Grafdigger's Cage. So Needle isn't a way to stop that. Do we want some number of mentors? He's probably not going to be ready for it post-board. I say probably, but unfortunately some of the same stuff that slows down Obsidot slows down Mentor, but Mentor could be pretty nutty. I don't think I want Favor. Favor could backfire here. I prefer Favor against Bogles or decks that we clearly have the bigger CMC stuff. I don't know if we're going to have the bigger CMC stuff. I think Jace is just too slow, no offense. I think Jace is sweet. I think it's cool to grind with Jace. I think that Humans is not a grind. Disenchant seems too narrow. Why not just run Jace for repeated removal? Yeah, but my opponent's going to Grafdiggers us. He may not draw it. I'm just saying I think Jace is a little slow in general. I like Jace flashbacking removal spells, though. I think Jace could come back in game 3. I think game 2 against Humans when they're on the play. I mean, like, Peer Through Depths probably should get cut, too. It's just I kind of have to run that. Oh, double Brutality hand. This is sweet. Bobble with a fetch. Yeah. Oh, I'm into it. I'll keep it. I don't think it's amazing, but this technically could get there. Oh, an uncounterable Noble Hierarch. Bonkers. All right, Thoughtseize. I probably still just Thoughtseize, don't I? I kind of want to try to minimize damage. We don't have to Serum Visions anytime soon. It's not a huge priority to do that immediately in this matchup, to be honest. I would probably rather... I know I didn't do the bobble for the... Actually, let's get perfect information. Let's bobble and bobble the opponent so I know what they're drawing next. So we know exactly what... Okay, there's an unclaimed territory coming up. Okay, so we shouldn't try to screw him on mana. Okay, that's good to know. I probably just take Freebooter. Well, no, Rider. I have to take Rider. Like, my brutalities will work through everything else that we're facing here. Freebooter will take a brutality, though, but I have another brutality to kill the Freebooter, get it back. He's probably going to play Champion next, right? I like taking Mantis Rider because I can't remove Mantis. Let's take Mantis and kick it back. And we'll draw for our bobble. Do need to remember to actually do that. Oh, wow, another brutality. I don't mind seeing all this brutality against Humans. Got 4 Jace, and I'm down to 1 overall. Just to support that he's a tad slow. Alright, so we'll kill the champion. Oh, no. Does he have double 1-drop? Oh, God. Oh, no, he's going... Okay, perfect. Well, awkward. So he's going to free... Well, no, we just drew another brutality, so this is fine. So we get to kill champion... Yeah, so this would have been awkward if I hadn't drawn yet another removal spell. Would you like a brutality, opponent? So he's going to take a brutality. We kill the champion of the parish. We then will kill Freebooter the next turn. And yeah, this is going to be fine. He takes my serum instead. Sure. Okay. I mean, I don't have to escalate yet. I could just go Watery Grave, Shock, kill. I don't have to escalate yet. We could just kill the champion. I'm just going to kill champion, go. We don't have to escalate with these. Not yet, anyway. I'd rather we wait till we potentially draw like a reanimate target. Like, I still probably want the Godless Shrine, but maybe we don't. Like, I may, like, the next brutality I try to resolve, I may just pitch the Godless. This game may... We didn't even bring in many mentors, right? We may not even need white mana. I brought in just a couple. Yeah, I love drawing mono. Like, there's plenty of matchups where I don't mind drawing mono brutalities, to be honest. Card's pretty nuts for us. Like, it's not just a good card in our deck, it's also one of our discard outlets. So, like Lily would be. I mean, Lily's just a good card that's also a discard outlet. Like, that's what brutality is. It's not a draw spell like Chart of Course is. Like, Chart of Course is a discard outlet that's also a really solid draw spell. Brutality for us, whether we run 3 or 4, maybe even just 2, like, it's not just a discard outlet. It's a really reasonable modern card. It's powerful. Did I see the new Squee? I did. I did see new Squee. Alright, so he's going to copy the Freebooter. But I'm just going to... What's the interaction with the... Okay, so now he's going after my brutalities, which I think he should have done from the start. And now he just doesn't really have anything, right? My opponent is on top deck mode. Cool. I go 12. I draw an Aname. Cool. So let's Brutality for more modes this time. Let's do... I don't even know if I... Yeah. So I could Serum and then Brutality. Well, we're at 12 life. I mean, that's how we lose this game, is I just take too much damage from my own deck. So I think I'm actually gonna just... You should land in Serum. How will this deck win? My opponent's deck, he just beat... Oh, you're talking about ours. Oh, okay. I was like, humans is pretty straightforward. My deck does all sorts of wonderful nonsense with Goryo's Vengeance and things like Jace and Obsidat and Aname. And, like, Bloodgas synergies. So you like doing land for Seruming? You need to play next turn. Serum will help you find it. You need to play for next turn. Serum helps. Well, no, I already have a play for, like, I could even kill this freebooter and get back the Brutality. Yeah. Okay, so Dizzy thinks the way I'm going to lose this game is I run out of gas. Okay. Okay, so you're saying go a little bit greedier, go ahead and shock Serum into Brutality, pitch the Aname? Okay. Okay. All right. I don't necessarily disagree. All right, so there's the Vengeance. So there you go. I think I actually bought him that. Because we want a land drop. I'd rather just have land here so we can trigger all the blood gas off of the Aname coming back. So we'll Brutality the freebooter. Well, okay, hold up. Rules question, judges. So if I were to Brutality this freebooter, he is a Phantasmal, and he will die when he becomes the target of the spell. I think because this has separate targets, it's kind of like the whole Colligan's command theory. I'd rather kill this freebooter because it has the Brutality beneath it. I think I want this back first. Yeah, I think this works because this is separate targets, right? It says target opponent, target creature. So because it has two targets, I should be able to target the freebooter and still drain, right? Yeah, opponents. Yeah, it has two different targets. Yeah, it's the whole like Colligan's command electrolyze kind of argument. So we can still kill and drain. So kill and drain. And discard. Yes, it works. I thought so. It's always good to double check at 4 in the morning. It's always good to check. We go to 12. Okay. Yeah, you're right. We need to get something going. I mean, we know we're drawing our reanimation next turn, so I could get all the blood gas going as early as maybe the turn after is the correct time to do it. Like, I might want to just Brutality again. Like, I could Brutality the freebooter and cast the Serum Visions. I don't need to immediately reanimate the Iname. I don't have a land drop to bring all the guys, what is it? I don't have the ability to bring back all of... I could also use Iname as a removal spell. I could just block the freebooter, right? It's going to be 4 toughness. Yeah. It depends on what happens here. So he's going to Reflector or Meddling Mage. Meddling Mage will name Goryo's Vengeance for sure. It'd be weird if he doesn't name Goryo's Vengeance. That's another reason to diversify. Oh, he says Brutality. Oh, interesting. Well, he knows about the Brutality. Okay, so now we have a different line we have to take. And that line is I wait for him to go to combat. Because we're at 9. Yeah, I probably wait for him to go to combat now. And we instant speed the Iname to block. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to kick it back. I'm gonna block with this Vengeance actually because we don't have a land drop to bring back the blood gas anyway. Opponents, I mean this is game 2. We won game 1 against our humans opponent. He's probably not gonna expect me. Well, my hope is that he swings with more than just the freebooter, right? Oh, we're really dead. Yeah, he topped another Mantis. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Okay. Oh, he's swinging out perfect. Science. Thank you so much for hitting that button, Jabber Cookie. Welcome to the Brews by the Magic Guy show. So we're gonna bring this out. I'm gonna trigger this. I'm gonna say yes. Let's grab our whole deck, put it into the graveyard because that's what we do. I'm not at enough mana to cast the. All right, let's go get the extra Aname because we don't want to draw that. I don't want to draw any of these. We'll put them all into the yard where they belong. No more targets. Okay. I will block and kill the Mantis, but probably still lose the game. I mean, the Meddling Mage. Probably still lose this. That's okay, though. Like, this is game... Like, this is humans on the play. Right, I can kill the freebooter. Yeah, we lose the Aname, but that's okay. She's already done what she needed to do. We drew in a disenchant, doesn't really do anything, so that's what I'm going to do with this brutality. I'm going to do 2 modes. Kill and drain. Kill, drain. Get rid of the disenchant. Cast the serum. Didn't get land drop yet, but Fatal Push answers the Mantis if I have a fetch. Awkward. Okay, hold up. Hold up. There's a line here. There's a line here. I'm at 7. There's a line. I take the Strand as my next card, right? I peer through depths into the Fatal Push, crack the fetch, kill the Mantis. I'm not dead yet. The problem is going to be that the Nobles can actually kill me, can't they? We didn't have the Obsidat. Like, our choice was Aname. So, like, Obsidat may have easily been where we needed to go with this. Top fetch, peer for the push. Yeah, the problem is, though, I just died of the Nobles. Right? I'm at 7. Mantis puts us to 2. Fetching Strand puts me to 1. I die to the Noble Hierarchs. And me bringing back all these gas, they won't block. You have draws to find it out, though. Good line buys you time. Well, no, it doesn't. Like, this Mantis puts me to 2. I have to bring back Obsidat, don't I? I have to, like, peer through depths to another Goryo's Vengeance, right? That's not good enough either. This is unfortunate. I mean, we have another game to play against this guy. It's not set in stone that we're not going to win the match. I just think, I don't know if there's a line that we can actually come back from this. Do you guys see what I'm talking about, Gallagher? Like, I see the line, like, we put the Strand on top, and the Strand brings back the ghasts, and we peer to get to the Fatal Push, but I just don't think that this does it. There is a 4th Brutality in the deck, but it doesn't kill Mantis. You fetch, you'll get 1 turn. Well, right, I wait, yeah, duh, I do wait for him to attack. That's true. I would get another turn to try to find an out to the Nobles. I can't just draw the push. I would need a way to trigger Revolt. Push and then pray for Goryo. Well, see, that's the thing. Am I supposed to... Okay. Oh, all right. I guess that's our plan. Yeah, it sucks to draw Thoughtseize this late, but that's just the nature of hand hate. It's so awesome in the early game of Modern for the most part, and then it is quite crappy in the end. I mean, that's like drawing a daze late. Is that why somebody made that comparison in chat? They said Thoughtseize, hand hate is kind of like the daze of the format because you don't really want to draw it late game. All right, well. I do have to do all this during my opponent's attack phase, what we're talking about doing. I kick it back. Like, we'll peer through depths into the push. So opponent should just clonk us with the rider. Alright, so now that he's determined what he's attacking with... Yep, we're going to go to 1. Too bad Bloodguest can't block. Card would be nuts. Yeah, in the end it probably doesn't matter, but we're trying. But we're trying. There's a Vengeance. Unfortunately. We're probably not going to see another one, are we? I'm just talking to myself, I guess. We knew this was potentially the reality of what was going to happen here. So I could go to 1. If only Obsidat flew. If only. Yeah, I mean, this is where you would want Grizzy. I got it. We'll grab the Pit Lord and kill ourselves. Oh, that's just so frustrating. We were so close, potentially. You're going to shuffle it back? Oh, that's true. We're shuffling it. That's true. All right, so we take the push. Is this the only way? Any order is fine because we're shuffling. Flooded Strand gives us the Revolt for the push. I mean, if I top removal spell, like we can get in for 8 and then get in for 8 and he dies. It's very possible that he bricks and we run a runner removal spell. I did bring in all of our sideboard removals, or I like engineered explosives away the hierarchs. We have outs. I mean, I shouldn't just give up. That's not like me. And we certainly have outs. So let's fetch first, obviously. I think I just want it to be fountain, right? No, it's probably still watery grave. Our deck is like black for sure. It's just a black, just a light white splash. This doesn't really matter. All right, push the mantis. Never give up. Never surrender. All right. Engineered explosives one time? Nope, we're dead. Yeah, if we could have only gotten the spirits like online a turn sooner. And I think we had the option to, right? If I'd just gone Aname instead of trying... Well, no, the Aname needed to block the meddling mage, so it actually worked out. It's just, yeah. I need Flamekin Zealot. Yeah, close though. You want to show me some more sideboard cards, or just another Mantis to rub-ins for the rub-ins? All right, I have less time, so I'll scoop. I don't mind what happened there. I think the disenchant did feel like overkill, for sure. I mean, the issue with it always has been and always will be that if they have the graveyard hate, I don't know if we have enough room against humans to be spending slots. Whereas that could have been even the first Jace, that could have been a Pieces, that could have been a third Mentor. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if we... I mean, the fact that he wasn't mulliganing hard to hit his graveyard removal says a lot. Says that he doesn't value it very much against us. And so that should tell me that, okay, if my opponent doesn't value this, then we don't either. And if he's not going to fight over our graveyard, then great. We'll just do what we want to do and probably run the Jaces because it's game. Like, am I supposed to run all of the Jace before I even run the first Mentor against humans? It's hard to say. I definitely like explosives and path and the pushes absolutely coming in. That's easy. That's the easy part. And we swapped out the 3 pieces of the puzzle. That's easy. What's not easy is, okay, where do the other pieces go? Cut Pier, go full Mentor package. It'll hedge against Cage too. All right, so cut the depths. Yeah, this is slow too, right? This should also have been cut. You're correct. So run some number of as many Mentors as I can. Okay. You like going full Mentor mode? Okay. Sure. I could see... I still feel that Jace is slow, so that would be, if that's the modicum we're going with. Let's stay full-blown, just bursty. So we've got a little bit of removal, right? And then we've also got, well, not just a little bit, like I have a freaking playset of Brutality. That's what he's naming on his Medley Mages now against us, right? Maybe that's risky for us to keep the playset going. It's definitely what he's going to name if given the opportunity. Okay, so we got 8 removals after board. We still got Pit Lord, because I think it's one of the stronger things that I can reanimate. We've got the Iname, Obsidat, Bloodghast package still, because we're on the play. And yeah, Mentors, let's do it. Seems pretty straightforward. Cut some of the grindier, slower engines. This is not what this game's about. Seems fine. This hand might never get off the ground, but it's got so much CMC1 stuff that I think we can keep it on the back of, this is going to be quite disrupting. And we just hope for the best, hope that the deck... Okay, Mulligan, great. These Inquisitions are very strong. Inquisition much stronger against my opponent than our Thought Seizes. I am going to, because we have Path, not because we have Mentor, necessarily, because we have Path, I'm going to go for the Godless Shrine. See if we can't set this explosives up. So you get the Malcontents. Okay. So ideally, I want to set the explosives to 1 for Hierarchs. Why don't we take Image or Malcontents? I mean, I could take Noble. I think that's greedy. Like, we would rather set up the explosives to 2 for 1 here. I think that Image is actually less strong than the Malcontents will eventually be. This is going to be more relevant sooner than this will be, though. I'll take image actually. Kick it back. Hey, what's up, Deister Plays? I do not fatal push this hierarch. In fact, we don't even play out the explosives yet. We wanted to play the second hierarch, and we want to kill both of them with it. Hierarch's so good. Noble hierarch's so good. Card is absurd. It's very good, guys. I mean, it's no Deathrite Shaman, but it's very good. We'll see what he drew. Okay, just another noble, so I'll take the Malcontents. This is going to be a juicy explosives, but we need to wait for it to get juicy. Opponent's like, my opponent doesn't run explosives. This deck doesn't run engineered explosives. Are you kidding me? There's no way my opponent's deck runs explosives. No way. He doesn't run engineered explosives. Like, who runs this card in Modern? Oh, he's on the company version. I thought so because he had the additional dorks. So we may still lose this easily. I was excited about the 3-for-1, but I'm still taking 3 damage off these nobles. I'm now taking a lot more damage. I'm now dead. Great. Oh, I tried, guys, but Collected Company's one hell of a card, and we never got off the ground. I did keep a greedy hand. Yep. It's pretty good. 7 damage off of Mantis Rider seems pretty good. Seems pretty good. All right, we're going to kick it back. I'm going to kick it back. It's not over. It's just mostly over. And then he drew an image? Are you kidding me? I may have supposed to kill... it may have been correct for me to kill the lieutenant in response to... Yeah, I was supposed to kill the lieutenant in response to him casting that, because now I'm just so dead. I'm super dead now. Well, it was fun playing. We tried. Yep, that's lethal. That's 6 damage still. I should have killed the... I should have pathed my... No. I should have pushed my opponent's lieutenant in response to him playing image, and then I would have taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm thinking of the Mantis. I mean, I told you I wasn't going to play perfect because it's like 5 in the morning for me, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4 damage. 5, 6, 7 damage. Yeah, I would have only taken 7. No, 8, 9, 10. I was dead either way because he was going to copy the Mantis, right? Yeah, so if I fatal pushed the lieutenant, I still take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, it's 9. It is not lethal. It is 9. I would go to 1. Right? If I had fatal pushed the lieutenant before the image could copy the... Yeah, before image could copy the... God, that was excellent rips. Yeah, I mean, he hit a company. That's modern. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Well, I also kept a greedy hand, right? Adding the 20th land to this deck will probably improve it. All right, no, we're 1-1. Fetch here would still win you the game. Push path. Yeah, I think that like 20th land will do wonders for the deck for sure. It could have even been the filter land we're considering running, right? That filter land would have filtered me into both path push, so would have let me cast the brutality. So it's unfortunate. We stumbled. We were never going to see the other land in time. It wasn't till 1, 2, 3 draws, 4 draws later. So it's okay. Yeah, it happens. It's not even not to discredit my opponent. It really doesn't have anything to do with what they did. We stumbled. There's a lot of decks that would have beaten us because I stumbled, and adding the 20th land will make future versions of the deck stumble less. And if we want to run greedy cards like, you know, if we want to be able to hardcast our Obsidats or Bloodghasts, we probably should have something like this. There's no card in my deck that could top deck out of that board state, Dorotheus. We needed a second land way sooner than we saw it, and I kept a greedy. I kept it. The thing is, I don't know a 6 in our deck that would have beaten what our opponent was able to do. I'm sure it exists. I don't know what combination of cards it would have needed to be. And that's okay. That's no skin off my back. Opponent had a really excellent series of top decks after he shredded his hand. That's always been the detriment of hand hate. It's not so much about it's the issue with hand hate is it's not always important to take what your opponent could cast. It's important to counter what your opponent does cast, and that's the difference. Fundamentally, if you want to talk about mechanics of like older formats versus modern, where you talk about hand hate being the glue, permission is king. Why is counter magic king? What I just said. Thanks for the stream, always fun. Oh, thanks, Gallagher. I feel so much better about losing now, I guess. Thanks, man. I appreciate the $5. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's why permission is king. Like, hand hate is strong. I'm not saying counter magic in every situation is always superior, right? Sometimes it's about, like, counter magic is always tempo. Because if you're countering what they actually spend mana casting, you're setting them back. It's about timing. Hand hate is you want to try to take the things that they could cast. But your opponent actually doesn't spend any resources casting them. That's the thing about hand hate. I think your keep was fine. If you find land in your first 3 draws, you win, which is about 66%. Yeah, I think the 20th land will make the deck smoother. I've been meaning to add another, either the 4th bauble or a 20th land for some time. So I think it's just natural that... It's funny, we already came to this conclusion before that happened, and that's not going to be the last time it happens to us in the league. So, I mean, come back next stream this weekend for the riveting conclusion of how Goryo's Souls does or doesn't get there. Let me go ahead and make this version. What the heck version is this now? I'm just going to call it 1.2 because it's, this is still such a prototype. I don't even know where I want to go with it still. We may test the Anafenza tech, Dorotheus, and I will talk to Quad Hoarder and try to get the Heath and the Eidolon. Maybe we'll try both of them. Yeah, I think this is cool. I don't think it's necessarily correct, but I think it's a cool concept. I think the issue is the same matchups where we want Anafenza to be value and something to get back with He Who Hungers is probably the same matchup where Geist would be what we want to get back anyway. And Geist is less taxing on my mana base. But then again, Geist doesn't just theoretically immediately pump up the jams and win the game, whereas... What were the lines? Hang on. Just want to rehash that before I pass out. What was it? It was... Okay, so you were talking about potentially making these work, right? These two? So the sequencing, in theory... Yeah, okay. Okay, so it's... Let's categorize this. Problem with like any sort of reanimator deck is it's like you don't just want to curve it. It's not like a traditional strategy, so it's hard to... So reanimate spells. We need more. I still feel like we need more of this effect. Before adding like cute one-ofs, I think we still need more of this effect, but we'll get to that. Jace kind of can be more of that because he flashes them back. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I mean, that's where fundamentally the deck is kind of... Well, as for Goryo's is clunky no matter what variant of it you build. I would just say ours is still a prototype and still clunky, and we need to figure it out. Okay, so we'll put the Bloodghast with the Iname. This is a discard outlet. This is a discard outlet. These are... Inquisition doesn't count. These are... Okay, so Jace doubles as a discard or maybe more copies of Reanimate spell. We need more Reanimate spells. 100%. This build anyway. Or ways to find Goryos. I mean, you can make the argument that, okay, but Visions and Jace and Chart a Course help us find the Goryos in the footsteps, right? No, Souls? Nah, not anymore. That's actually where the deck's name came from. I just haven't changed it. I actually really like that, Goryo's Souls. I like Goryo's Souls as far as like a deck name, even though we're technically like Goryo's Spirits now. Yeah, so like we've got a reasonable amount of like we're running arguably some of the best cantrips in the format. Chart is actually really nuts, but yeah, discard outlet. 11 of them. Jace is also another discard, so that's 13. Whether or not we want to run Liliana, I think this is just not enough. Unless I'm going to run spells that find these more easily, this is probably not enough, right? One of the earlier versions I was playing had as many as 2, maybe even 3 footsteps. It's, yeah, this is just, that's clearly not enough reanimation spells, isn't it? Is it? I mean, obviously the one we're playing right now is not even close, but it's just because of card availability. So I was trying to mirror what I'm going to play in paper for F&M. Yeah, this has access to 3 Jace. I mean, that's the benefit of Jace, fundamentally. The cool thing about Jace in this deck is it does so much more than Obs. It does... I could borrow a 3rd Jace for the tournament. All right, let's go ahead and... Let's keep testing 3 Jaces. Jace is fundamentally dig, fundamentally another reanimation target, and fundamentally Jace is always... not always, it depends on the matchup, but like Jace is also... Yeah, Jace is filter and discard at the same time. So he adds to this category and also just adds to our draw power to find the reanimate spell. More like Goryo Ghosts. Ooh, I like that. I like that. Thank you. That's good. That's really good. Thank you. Dorothy is coming in clutch with the deck name. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to cut all the cuteness. I don't think that He Who Hungers actually needs to get us back a card, right? I don't think that it does. I'm going to cut Geist, and then probably also the Anafenza. And I may still run the Fetid Heath, by the way. I run Jace and my Esper Mentor, very happy. Yeah, card's sweet. Card is quite sweet. Well, maybe we don't cut Anafenza yet, but I'm trying to add another Footsteps if you wonder what I'm getting at. I'd rather just... Like, the cool thing about our deck is Footsteps works for Aname, Obsidat, Pitlord, and also He Who Hungers. I think probably not the 3rd one. I did grab a 3rd one for the deck. I think 2. If we're going to run any number of these, this might be the sweet spot. So 6 reanimation spells. Draw power has gone up. We've added a Jace. I think 20 land, the deck will be more happier, excuse me. I don't mind buying into a Fetid Heath. It's getting reprinted now, so it's maybe going to be a little bit easier for me to grab before the tournament. So when we cut the Anafenza, I don't think He Who Hungers actually needs to... I don't think the Soul Shift needs to actually do anything. Dorotheus, I love the tech. Let's not forget about that tech. I think I'm not going to actually try to make He Who Hungers return anything. I'm going to go back to the previous build, which was Mentors. And then the second Fatal Push. Because that's what I'm borrowing for the weekend. It probably should be more paths than Fatal Pushes. Because I don't really care if they get mana. None of what my deck is doing is based on if my opponent has more or less land. I think in a vacuum, that Fatal Push is going to be the better card most of the time, but like there are going to be matchups where we wish we had Path instead, and that will be unfortunate when it happens. Sorry, but I asked, but only 9 discard. Yeah, that's maybe even a little bit light for a deck like this, right? Like I have to take permission, I have to take removal, I have to have discard outlets. I think that the 4th Brutality is maybe even better than the 1st Inquisition. That's a good point, Joe Zero. That's a good point. You need to remember that Brutality is not just in the deck for discard. It's a discard outlet. I think Lily has a spot here. Oh, it has been asked yet. No, nobody's actually questioned the deck about the number of discard it's running yet. You're actually the first. That is a lot of hand hate. I think that's okay. So let's do the whole cards that work anyway, and then cards that most likely have to be reanimated to mean anything. So 6 to 7. Is that a good ratio, stream? Okay, we can make the argument that Obs kind of works without the reanimates, but no. I'm not. Actually, no. I'm going to leave this as 7. And is that a good ratio? Probably not. Right? And then Inquisitions don't count. Filtering. So, okay, wasted discard. And Ghast can be hard cast on its own, but it really is in this category of it much would rather be part of the Iname Kamo, part of what I'm discarding and trying to reanimate. So I mean, that's a lot of. I mean, that's the thing is like you look at the list and you're like, okay, this is a really cool concept. This is really neat. But what is the cost that it comes at? You know, this isn't Legacy. I don't get to run Brainstorm. I don't get to run, some of those really efficient filter cards. I'm not even running Faithless Looting. So it's like these cards come at a real cost. Will I lose to Damping Sphere? Oh, that card's insane, Dorotheus. I wonder if they printed that specifically thinking about like Storm and specifically thinking about like Tron. It feels like it's aimed specific. It's not a specific hate card. It's aimed at both Tron and Storm, isn't it? I don't care about Damping Sphere. Yeah, my deck does not lose to Damping Sphere, I don't think. Each spell player casts costs 1 more to cast for each other spell. No, I'm not really trying to resolve multiple spells in a turn, except for maybe when I have a Mentor online. But like even Mentors, I just need to cast a spell each turn, like once during my turn, once during their turn, to kind of maximize where that card wants to be. Yeah, I don't think we'd lose to Sphere. We would maybe even consider running Sphere in our board, Dorotheus, because we're a deck that doesn't really care about it. When that card comes out, I might run a Singleton over maybe one of the just kind of pseudo, just not that great cards. We haven't gotten to use Favor yet. I haven't gone up against Bogles or... this is like old tech. This is like old tech I used to try way back, like Gifts tech. Favor the Mighty. Each creature with the highest CMC has protection from all colors. So in the event of Bogles, they can't further attach auras to the Bogle, and or what if they have the other, or they can't attach, and then if it already had auras on it, they all fall off. It hurt Filterlands accidentally. Damping Spear will be the force of will of modern. It hurt Filterlands actually. Oh. It does. A land is tapped for 2 or more mana. This does make 2 or more mana. It produces colorless instead. Interesting. It does. Okay, well remind me to switch out of Feated Heath when that card comes out. Yeah, it hurts all the filter lands in the format, doesn't it? Oh, that's interesting. Yes, that's interesting. But yeah, I would probably try this configuration for next stream. Yeah, I don't know what the last land should be. Just another fetch land. Could even be a second basic. There have been several spots where I wish I just had another basic. Swamp, actually. The extra basic swamp comes up in the case of Bloodghast usually. Sometimes Aname or Obs. I think this deck gets away with singles in all the different places. We add Lily, we have to add second basic swamp. I mean, second basic swamp already technically makes sense for the deck because I have Ghasts. And there have been several games where I wish I had another fetchable, not painful mana source. I mean, maybe that's what I'm supposed to do in the meantime if we're not going to run Anafenza. Probably just run another swamp. I mean, this is what's going to make my Tezzeret deck playable. Trauma's unwinnable. Yeah, I'm excited about the card. Dizzy, that's definitely a card that everybody's hyped up about. I mean, definitely has applications. The thing that it fights multiple decks, it makes for very... I mean, we could also run like an Urborg, But probably before I run Urborg, we run one more basic. There's actually a lot of reasons to run additionals of your primary color source right now in Modern. If you guys are building a deck or brewing a deck like I am, or just not like this, let me rephrase that. If you're just building a deck in general in Modern, you really should consider adding additionals of your, even if you're like we're not really a grindy deck. I'm not trying to go too many turns with this thing. It's not like traditional Esper Mentor or Esper, traditional Esper Goryos at all. Like I'm not really, we're not really trying to go too many turns. So, yeah, I mean, I would say, consider the extra, like there was plenty of times tonight where I just wish I had one more basic, or people like Field of Ruin this a bunch. And I was like, wow, I really wish we had our primary color, again. And I think one of the off colors in this deck is fine. Really the only punishing color to only have one island, or yeah, it's not so punishing to only have one plains, but it could be punishing to only have one island. But the additional swamp has come up plenty. We've taken additional damage off of our mana base that we wouldn't have otherwise, and certainly has hurt us in some matchups. So something to think about. Anyways, guys, I really am. I played another game because you guys really wanted to see it. I was happy to do it, I suppose. And yeah, I mean, I love Magic, so. Be on the lookout for more streams from me this weekend. And I'll definitely give you guys a rundown of how my FNM goes. The last time I played FNM, what did I play? Okay, last FNM, I played my buddy's Jeskai control with some flavor from myself. I made some pretty ambitious changes. I played Entreat. I did 2-1 with that. And then I played last FNM with my buddy Brian's blue-white splash green control. And it splashes green for, believe it or not, a Sigarda. And we thought about putting EE in it. I forgot to do so. That deck also went 2-1. So we'll see how this deck goes. It looks like this. What I'm going to play at FNM looks more so like this. I just don't know what these pieces are going to be. I am borrowing the Jaces, so it's going to look something like this. I don't know if pieces are going to be more Piers because I'm missing some number of reanimate spells. I really should run 6 or more of that effect. 6 or more Goryo effects. Yeah, for sure Dizzy Drone has been a bit. Maybe less fetches. Yeah, Agraphene with a rate of 8, thank you so much. No, you're fine. You're fine, friend. I'm going to bed. But I'm going to host somebody. Always do. Always try to, at least. I know not every single time, but I grab my phone. I do try to host a different streamer when I can. Let's see what's out there. Yeah. Night Brew Guy. Good night, Dora. Appreciate all the cool stuffs. All right, Holy Diva's doing well. Diva. I always say Diva. It's Diva. I'm going to host French because he played my deck the other day, and that was actually really kind. I'm going to host Mr. Professor French. Actually, is there somebody else, though, that's lower on the curve that just could really use some viewers? I like to go from the bottom up, usually. A lot of people just don't go. Holy crap, somebody's playing Assault Loam in Modern. I'm going to host this guy. Well, okay, let's make sure his stream is solid first. That's spicy, although they're white border, but this is spicy. Okay, we're hosting this guy. That sounds sweet. Sorry, French. This is amazing. Yeah, it seems legit. He seems like he knows what he's doing. All right, I'll see you guys on the next show.